You are in a little chair. Wheelchair.
We'll call this workshop to order at this time. Let the record show that all board members and our attorney and superintendent is present, along with a lot of our school employees, personnel, and so we appreciate you being here. This is a workshop, and so first of all is for us to adopt the agenda this evening. Do I hear a motion?
Motion.
Ms. Carlton makes the motion. Ms. Agner seconds it. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried. And then let's stand with prayer and pledge for Mr. Glover.
Let's pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for today. We thank you for all our many blessings, Lord. We just ask you to keep your hand on this district and on our community, Lord. Help us to learn tonight that we can grow to give our students the best possible education that we can, Lord. Thank you for all the men and women that are fighting every day to keep us free, Lord. We appreciate that, Lord. Just watch over us and keep us safe. Forgive us of many sins, and we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And this is a workshop, and as we get started this evening, all those who will be making presentations, please come to the podium and the mic where everybody can be able to hear the presentation. So Dr. Glover, it's in your hands.
So I want to give you a little update on, Jack, if I do this, can they hear me? Okay. So we want to give you an update on where we are with the CARES budget. Appreciate Ms. Sharon here. I'm try to go quick, so that way if you have any questions, we can ask her, or I'll try to answer them the best I can. This has definitely been a moving target with CARES. A lot comes down fast, and then they'll tell us we're gonna, one thing's gonna be like this, and we don't have a budget narrative, and then it comes right back that we have information that we didn't have, and it changes a lot. So we'll do the best we can getting through this. But as I said here, about CARES this evening, CARES funding. You'll see there you have a column that kind of lists everything out. Probably looks like this. Everybody's got their packet. So just to let you know how it's kind of divided out. Column A is the budget project number, which is assigned. Column B is your CARES grant name. Column 3 is going to be the grant cycle. That can be the beginning and the end. And next column D is the grant purpose description. Column E is the approved grant allocation. And then F is going to give you the amount that is remaining. So we can kind of go through these quickly. And as you can see, there's a lot of project numbers. That was one reason why we needed to have a person over all these projects to keep everything straight and work with the state. So the first one we had was project 2152-21. That was the high school literacy exam administration. And you can see that grant cycle ends 6/30 of 22. That was to deal with the civic literacy requirements that was put into state law. Students meet this requirement by passing the new high school literacy exam and funding to prepare this exam. So you can see our allocation was right at $8,800 with that. And we have a little over $2,700 left in that. Now, time the spring rolls around, we will go ahead and spend the rest of that allocation there. The next was the instructional continuity plan. I know we talked a lot about this, but this was to assist with the continuation of instructions and other related educational services during the disruption to standard operations. We were allocated right at $29,000, and you can see we still have all of that remaining. Now, there will be a group of teachers that will attend a training in Jacksonville. In between that training and a couple of more, because we have a little time to spend this, but once we do those trainings, that'll eat up that pot of money there. The next is the ESSER Best Quality Curriculum Standards. And this is to help with our LEA curriculum. And so we were allocated right at $22,000, and we have about $5,900 left there. We'll spend that as we order more supplies, more curriculum, more books. We will eat up the rest of those remaining funds. And we have till 7/31 of 22 to spend that. The next is the K-12 civic literacy book list. That in 2017, a college level civic requirement was put into state law. College-bound students may meet this requirement by passing new high school literacy exam. This funding is to purchase books from the civic literacy reading list. We were allocated right at $7,000. We have spent that on books and have $763 left. We will order some more books, and that will eat up the rest of that pot there. Okay. Data informed support is the next one. We have till 10/29 of 21 to spend that. The purpose of this program is to provide resources for using and analyze data to improve schools and student outcomes through the use of progress monitoring tools, student support services, school improvement, and HQ high quality instructional models during the pandemic. Between our data scientists in K-12, we've talked about data scientists, and then K-12 that comes in and looks at our data, helps us interpret the data. We will spend between those two, we will spend the $63,000 that we're allotted. We haven't spent any of it yet, but those services will be paid for out of that funds there. Okay. So the next one, we move into the gear, and this one is for mental health. Now we have till 6/30 of 22 to spend this. We were allocated right at $101,000. And you'll see tomorrow night as we close some contracts with mental health. But we have $69,000, right at 69.5 left of that. But between what we pay Paul and Donna for mental health services, their salaries and everything will be paid out of that pot of money there. So that'll eat up most of that pot. The next is our Rising Kindergarten. These funds are used to provide learning mitigation intervention for rising kindergarten students, targeted to support students with significant academic need in order to close/remediate those with achievement gaps due to school closure during COVID. We got 31.6 of that. The primary school has done a really good job of spending that. We have like $2,100 left. And time we get back to school and they order probably some more books and things that they need, we will zero that out as well. Okay. So you can flip over to the back. All right, the next one. This is coronavirus prevention and response to gear. This money has to be already spent. It's the funds to assist with supplies and sanitation or to prevent the spread of the COVID coronavirus. We were allocated like $53,928. It says 482, but that's already gone. I do want to give, I think this is the pot of money, correct me if I'm wrong, Sharon, that actually did a really good job of going back and making sure that we spent all this, because a lot of districts, is this the pot that the state actually took back?
This is the pot that they took back.
Yes, the state, a lot of districts did not spend this and code things correctly, so they lost a lot of money. So, that's one thing I've said, we're not giving any money back. We're going to spend what we got. The next one is, a big one. It's the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Fund Relief, ESSER. This was intended to help states and school districts safely reopen schools, measure and effectively address significant learning loss. So we spent almost all of this was on summer school. A lot of it went to summer school, $806,473. And we have $44,000 left. But by the end of July, once we pay out summer school, we will zero that account out as well. So that will take care of that. The next is the GEAR Summer Recovery. Funds were used to provide summer K-12 reading recovery program during the summer of 2020. That one, as you can see, we have used that one. The next one is the private school. That just funnels through us. Ms. Hathcott takes care of that, and that goes out to the private school. Now where it can get a little bit confusing, we're getting to ESSER 2, which is the Coronavirus Relief and Response Supplemental Appropriations, which can be called CRISA or ESSA 2. So by this, there's a lot of back and forth with the state on this between federal and state funding, but the state came up and said you had to spend 45% of this by September 15th. September 1st. And so this has to be it has to come in, you have to spend it. A lot of people are using this for construction and they're having a hard time because you can't get supplies. We spent a large majority of this. Dan has done a lot of renovations, AC, different things. So we're lucky honestly that we're able to get some of the parts and that we were able to get some of this done. So Dan has spent a good portion of this, and Tim is our other $1 million man. We have spent a bunch on technology. Now, so we have to spend, for us, it's around 1.8 million, but we call Dan and Tim our $1 million man because they can spend money pretty quick, especially when it goes to technology, big air conditioners, and you've also paid for flooring out of this as well. I also went ahead and ordered some school supplies so that way we can kind of be ahead of the game a little bit and have some stockpile to help teachers have what they need, but also help parents with some of the school supplies. So out of that, we still have 3.1 million left. Now the grant application is yet to be released. So once that grant application gets released, we will write the grant and we will include what we're going to spend it on. Now I'll get to that in just a second, but we do have some ideas. We'll let principals go through and give us a lot of input, ideas on things that they need. So that is ESSER 2.
Can I ask you a question, Dan?
Yes, ma'am.
You said 3.1, but you're talking about the 1.8.
We had to spend 1.8 by September 1st,
Right.
and that leaves us
Go down one more box.
2.1.
2.1, right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, 2.1 million that we'll have to spend once it gets released.
Well,
Now,
is that added into the 586 balance?
Yeah, I'm getting confused too.
The 586 balance is what you've got over to
See
the
where the
right
one-
on the 1.8, and then you've got 2.1.
So
So
a total of 4 million, it's a little over 4 million is our total, and 1.8 has to be spent by September 1st.
and we've
Now,
got 586 left of that to be spent.
we really don't have that much because Ashley, I don't think has encumbered everything for July. Dan was ordering some more flooring. And then I don't think the supplies that I've ordered has been taken out of here. And there was another bucket. There was something else that we had. It may have been technology or something. But that 586 will be spent by September 1st.
And the other is the,
And then you will have 2.1 that we will have to write the grant application on for that.
you have 2
The
years.
last bucket is the American Rescue Plan, which is ESSER 3. We're projected to get 8.8 million for that. We can't even look at that. We can't even start on that yet. That's a little ways off. When we do start on that, we have to have stakeholders, like the union will be at the table with us. So it'll be we'll all come together and put our heads together on spending that 8.8 million there.
It's right here in this first column that you got total, right up under the 217521, the 834,000. What is that? Is that the total of all the funding?
That's the total of the funding of the grants, the CARES grants that we've already written,
Mm-hmm.
gotten approved. So this year, that blue line where it says totals, remaining approved funds,
Mm-hmm.
we've been approved for $3,151,000 for the grants. Out of that, we have $834,000 left to spend.
Okay, and.
But not really, because we've got several of those that have zeroed out
Right.
already,
So
he said tonight. So it's way below that 583.
What you mean to June 30th? June 30th, 22?
The yellow column
Mm-hmm.
was as of June 30 budget report.
Okay,
So
all right.
it's already gone.
okay. So, are you finished talking about this?
No, if you're
Okay.
gonna wait till I get all the way to the end, because I may
Okay.
answer some questions as we go. You can see on this other sheet, this is where we met with principals and asked them at their school to see about things that they need. This is not, set in stone, but we did want to kind of go ahead and get an idea about things that they were going to need as we move forward. So you can kind of see that there. One thing that we're also, I'll tell you that we're going to plug in there is our plan is to hire 2 truancy officers, a K-5 for the district and a 612 that will be written into the grant. So that way I'll get to the attendance here in just a minute. Another thing, I think a plus that we're going to put in there is we're going to give teachers, classroom teachers, an extra $500 of supply money for this upcoming year. That's on top of everything else that we have already ordered for them as well. I'll tell you, Friday, this room was packed full. The principals came up here and helped. It was just jam-packed of supplies that we're going to get out to the schools to help parents and teachers out. So that's just kind of a rough draft list there. You can see the things that we are looking at.
I don't see anything for the middle school and for BBTC.
It says, but they,
I'm talking about on the,
Okay, now BBTC has their.
on separate
They
pot.
got
Okay.
their own
But the middle school's not on here.
Or Steenhatchee either.
Yeah.
So are we just waiting for you to get with them to get their wish list together, or?
This is a shared OneDrive document.
We're just waiting on them to go plug in some of their needs. Now, we've talked to Jimmy about some playground equipment and some covering. The middle school is getting a big chunk of this 1.8 right now as they're getting new flooring put in for Casey. We've got our stress to the max because we're putting in new flooring. Probably won't get all of the middle school, but we're getting a lot.
Yeah.
I can tell you, when they say it's hard to find workers, that's a problem we have ran into this year, is getting workers to finish the project. Just finding people to come work and get it done.
It's going to take a act of Congress to get everything put back in there. It's
And that's
tore all
another
up.
thing we're gonna be looking at too, is trying to pretty much replace most of the floor, district-wide over the next couple of years.
What about in the gyms? Dan, were you able to get to the high school or the middle school gym floor? I think the middle school may not.
Done completely.
Okay, yeah, the high school is the one that needs it. Have you been able to?
Well, let's stay on this, then we can.
Sorry.
Ask the questions there.
has
So
it-
here's kind of a timetable that you can see as to how we have to spend this, this money has to be spent out. The first is kind of going from the backwards forward, but ESSER 3, we have until 2024 to spend that. 20% of that must be used for learning loss through summer school, extra tutors. We have talked to the principals about bringing in retired teachers to come in to help. So 20% of that money does have to be spent used for learning loss. ESSER 2, we have until September of 2023 to spend that money. And then CARES ESSER 1, which we've already spent all that, but it has to be spent by September of 2023. Here's also another way to look at this. So this is ESSER 1. We've kind of recapped this a little bit. The total allocation was 905,000. Had to be grant approved. The district share of that was 806. Private schools got right at 99,000. We had until 9/22 to spend that. It says we had $65,134 left, but once we roll everything for July, it's going to go ahead and cancel that. We're sitting around, I think actually told me around 24,000, but that's going to be spent, or that will be encumbered in just a couple of days. There's also another breakdown of ESSER 2, which is CRISA. Ms. Sharon likes for us to use CRISA and ARC to help things so we don't get confused. But that's where the four, we talked about that, right at $4 million. We're going to award 45% or 1.8. That's what has to be spent by 9/1 of 21. Then after that, the grant application would come open. That's, like I said, actually told us at the conference it was Thursday or Friday it was going to be open. We haven't totally seen that yet. I don't know if DOE is having some problems with that, but that should be open the next couple of days. Non-enrollment assistance has to be 160,000 of that has to be on non-enrollment assistance, and that is going out and finding. I think we talked about using that to help finding kids. Wasn't shared. Truancy, our truancy offers can be paid for out of that pot of money. Academic assistance, I talked about that earlier, but 800,000 of that has to be spent on academic assistance. And then out of that, you have to spend 200,000 on technology.
Check, we can check that one off. We had spent way more than 200,000 on
Tim
that.
took care of us.
I saw that much coming.
One thing we're looking at is running I don't know, a lot of people didn't know, probably don't realize this, but how we get internet at BBTC is there's a line from the Knott building out to BBTC that we got a grant years ago that it's on the telephone lines going out there. That's how they get their internet. And so we have had squirrels eat through it. We have had trucks knock it down. So we're looking at burying that, putting that under the ground. And some of this was stuff that we were going to have to take care of anyway, through capital outlay or other type of funds. So we're able to go ahead and get this done. Tim's ordered flat panels. Ron, help me out. What else y'all got? Computers.
We need all the cables for the flat panels as well.
Cables. We've also looked at some at the conference, some new type of boards they have came out with where actually, if you're doing a math work, teachers are having to turn their back. So the teacher can totally look at the front of her class, do all the work as a clear screen that you can write on. Or if you had a reading passage, you can pop it up on the board and you can also write on it as you're looking at the class. That would probably also, some stand-up desk or rolling carts or something like that. So, so a lot of different options out there. The last is ESSER 3, American Rescue Plan. Like I said, 8.8 million earlier. We're waiting on notification, grant application, guidance, provisions for spending, but we do have to reserve 20% for learning loss and vulnerable subgroups. We do have some other ideas for this money. I'm sure everybody will be interested to hear about, but that has to be negotiated, so we can't talk about that at this time. So these are just kind of some of all the allowables that we've talked about. Pretty much if you can tie it back to COVID in any way, learning loss, you can use the money, but we're also, that's part of Ms. Bashir's job is to work with DOE, because we sure don't want to have to pay any money back 3 or 4 years down the road where we purchase something, then they come back, our auditors come in and said, that was a non-allowable, and now you're going to have to pay that back. So I can tell you, Alicia, Sharon, and Ashley are being very, very tough, watching it very closely, which makes me feel good. There's even been a couple of things I went to them about trying to purchase. They're like, I don't think we need to do that. And so they're being very honest and upfront. Like I said, we do not want to have to give any money back that we get. We want to spend it on our staff and our students. But, to sanitize, disinfect, clean the schools, PPE, ventilation systems, that's where we're going to, a large amount's going to go is to replacing air conditioners, air handlers, chillers, and I'm forgetting these water towers. So things that, was in our 5-year plan, we can go ahead and take care of this and get it done now, things that need to be done. Professional development on staff for sanitation, use of PPE, or anything minimizing the spread of infectious diseases. Physical barriers to facilitate social distancing, other materials, supplies, equipment recommended by CDC for reopening. Florida's kind of an exception to this. There's a lot of states that are just about to open. I think we're going to get a little more leniency because we have already reopened. We've already purchased a lot of this. So we are way, way ahead of a lot of states. A lot of states are looking to Florida. As the governor's told us, as the commissioner of education has told us, Florida got this right. And that's the hard work of our principals and our teachers and our staff and the support from you all. let's see, where we at? Materials, so we've talked over that. Capacity to administer coronavirus testing to effectively monitor and suppress the virus. Educational technology, hitting that one pretty hard. Instructional plans for remote or hybrid learning to address learning loss. Leasing sites or spaces to ensure social distancing. Others, reasonable transportation costs, initiating and maintaining education and support services or assistance for remote learning, reimbursement for services described above that a non-public school occurred on or after March 30th, 2020. Except for, these are some of the others here. I just don't want to keep reading it to you because I know you can read it, but anything that we can tie to COVID, we're probably, more than likely is acceptable to spend this money on and to help with reopening.
Have they addressed anything to y'all about health education and more physical ed for the kids?
Not a whole lot. Now, one idea that we have had, and we'll have to look at it a little closer, is an idea, and I think Ms. McCoy came up with this idea, but is more providing, maybe it's yoga, any type of exercise class or something for the teachers. I know one time we were doing that, possible gym membership, something like that. So that's some things that we're looking at. I've not heard a whole lot about for the younger kids. Where's Courtney? There you are. For more activity outside. Now, with that being said, we are looking at more shade for the kids. We're looking at a building at the elementary school for more shade, primary school for shade, the middle school for shade, and to help with the ag program. So to get the kids outside, you can use that also for outdoor classroom. So those are things that we are looking at. I don't know if that totally answers your question, but
I just would have thought that, they're in all of this money and all this spending, they would have addressed physical health because that's one of the keys to staying, well, not catching it, or if you do catch it, surviving it. So
now here's the tricky part. You spend now to address learning loss versus, pace of spending to avert a fiscal cliff, because we don't want to get too much of these services and then the money dries up and then the principals are coming saying to us, I have to keep these services and it's not there. Because this money will dry up after, 23, 24, the money will be gone. The state's already cautioned us, don't get used to having this money. Make sure it's non-reoccurring because you will not have this. They're caution districts. Don't go out and depend on this and then you lose it and now you're in financial strain and think the state's going to pick you up, because they will not. So we're having to be very conscious about that. I know I've spoken to a lot of y'all about that, but we just have to be really careful about how we spend this and how much we save up as we go. But at the end, my goal, we will zero. Ms. Hathcock won't be here, unfortunately, Miss 10 checks or 9 checks, but we will make sure that we spend all of it at the very end. She's got on here, beware of adding reoccurring costs. Instead of reoccurring expenses, you got new hires, nurses, counselors, teachers, tutors, pay raises across the board, COLA, increased benefit, permanent calendar changes, and changes to class size. Also things to consider for one-time expenses, stipends, tutoring, summer school, contracting, nurses, tutors, one-time hazard pay, facility upgrades, one-time summer school, or temporary added weeks of school, because that is non-reoccurring. If we do a whole lot of here, that's going to be reoccurring, and we can find ourselves in a very financial strain that we do not want to get into. I thought this was very informative. The Fordham Institute talked about this. There were some issues that they really stressed to us about with COVID, especially with the youngest children in the highest need school, will require extra help coming out of the pandemic, particularly in the form of extended learning time, high dosage tutoring, and expanded mental health services. I will tell you, mental health services, we are very, very, very fortunate to be able to provide the mental health services that we're able to provide in Taylor County. Between Paul, Vera, Donna, and all the ones, a lot of districts are scratching their heads how they're going to cover their mental health. They're not out there. So for us to have these individuals, we're very, very lucky. A great job recruiting them and keeping them to provide this to our students. Talking about extra help cannot replace what students need from schools' core programs, such as high-quality curricular and positive school cultures. Also, to make up for what's been lost, we need to focus on acceleration, not remediation. That means devoting all the classroom time to challenging instruction at grade level or higher, and giving all students access to a rich, high-quality curriculum in English language arts, mathematics, social studies, science, arts, and more. And decisions should be guided by high-quality research, evidence-based whenever possible. And also, we will go to a step further and say data that we wish we had for the high school, middle school, and elementary school right now. We're waiting on data to come back that will help us move forward with a lot of decisions that we need to make for our curriculum moving forward.
What's the downfall on that? Why is that taking so long?
That's a good question. We don't know. We've got third grade scores back. We were told don't probably not look anything before 7:30, which is putting the schools in a bind. They're ready to go, ready to make class lists. There's so much that needs to be done, and they're in a holding pattern as to what they can do. Luckily, primary, they can move forward with everything they need, but it's got us in a big holding pattern as to what to do.
So when our scores come back, do we have a pot where it's the TEC students, the tech students, and then the students that were enrolled at school, or are those scores combined?
Those scores are combined.
Okay. So will we have a figure though for how the TEC students did versus the ones who chose to come to school?
I'm sure the schools will break that down. What's interesting though that they have broken down a lot so far is, especially I know in third grade, is the amount of students who missed 30% more of school and where their data showed up compared to the kids that only missed 5 or 10%. So that's why we're going to be placing so much of an emphasis on attendance. So I'm going to be bringing to you truancy officers. That's why we wanted to.
I have a question on that. We still have a job description for a truancy officer, don't we?
We
Or-
do.
Okay.
It's from 1994, so that was one thing that was on the list today, is to try to get it updated. Honestly, it's sitting on my desktop right now to get done for the meeting next week.
What improvement has administration done in regards to truancy since Judge Blue stopped doing truancy? Because you're saying you want to hire officers, but there was concerns as to how, the district will stand on top of things in regards to truancy being successful. So what improvements have we done before you just say, I want to hire 2 officers?
I think most of the principals will address that when they come up to do their slides on truancy. I'd rather each school speak to that so you can hear it from them.
So Danny, when we address absenteeism and you talk about the kids that miss 30% or more, and we talk about truancy, do we look at the kids who miss 30% or more as being habitual, any of those, and what percentage are, so we can do a more focused absenteeism program? If we're preaching to every single student in the entire district, this full forced effort, when you have 10% of your students that are the cause of the problem, are we concentrating on those 10%? Are we going to?
It's going to be both, and I think they'll address that too in their slides. Is we wanted to make sure that exactly what you said, that we are rewarding the kids who are coming to school. So I know that
what I wanted to hear.
really hard on that, and they've came up with all kind of different ideas that they'll talk about when they share their slides.
Is there a way to get social services involved with the ones who are repeat offenders that are really struggling, to kids that are missing so much? other than truancy, because I know in the past we haven't had a lot of luck with truancy, and we're not alone there. A lot of districts haven't had a lot of luck with truancy. But I was just trying to find out if y'all are thinking about anything else
No,
outside.
You can't call DCF because someone want to take a child to school. That's a legal issue. That's not a child services
That may be a
issue.
Well, it's the
platform we
law,
want to look
you know,
at.
That's why I say it's a legal
To-
issue, so you need to go
There may be
directly
some
to the
different
law, not
areas
DCF.
with, public service, that they're getting. Maybe they're receiving some financial assistance that we may be able to work with. You know, we'll go through the steps and warn them, but if they continue not to send their kid to school, that could be something that we look at that could possibly be cut off if they continue to not do what the district has asked them to do. I mean, I really can't understand why, as a parent, I think you always want better for your kids. You know, if you come to school, the data shows we have great teachers, we have great staff, we have great administrators. You come to school, you're going to learn. So send your kid to school. The other thing is, I guarantee if you took everybody's kids in here, and a lot of people's got kids in here, and look at our kids' attendance, there's not going to be very many days that everybody in here missed when you add them together. So I don't understand how some parents say they've got all this going on at home and their kids miss so much school. We're in the same boat, and our kids are coming to school. They're exposed to the same things. Now, I understand some kids do have health problems, and sometimes there is outside layers or different things that you have to work through, and we totally understand that, and we'll work that. But overall, your kid needs to be in school, and they need to be there at least 95% of the time.
This is, as I'm saying, maybe this is something all districts should do as a platform to our legislators to come up with something in the statewide, because like we said, everybody struggles with it. And I don't know what the answer is, but I think if everybody put their heads together, like you were talking about, when you start dipping into someone's pocketbook, they start paying attention a lot of times.
We understand this year has been tough with the virus. There's a lot of kids who had to miss 10 days or 8 days, 6 days, whatever it is, because of exposure. But we're hoping and praying that we're not going to have that this year. And so we need kids in school where they can learn.
But that's what I'm saying again. So like when you're talking about attendance, there is district responsibility.
Absolutely, yes.
So that's what I'm saying.
Yes.
So like when we're running our attendance reports, I know some schools typically have someone assigned specifically to attendance. I know some schools typically have that as the dean. So when that dean is running reports and making contact with parents, are we documenting what we're doing on our end? I know some schools do it I know some schools are pretty good at it. Sometimes it falls in a crack at other schools. But if you don't stay on track with the district, making sure they're hitting those targets in regards to attendance, and you're not staying on top of making contact with the parent, then that goes back to the issue that was presented when the courts, start working with us. Because again, you can't say you have a attendance issue, but we're not staying on top of it to make sure that we're doing what we need to do on our end to make sure that we're documenting when contacts is being made to homes, when we're documenting these attendance conferences, and we're documenting the response that is coming from the home. Attendance was an issue before COVID-19, so you can't just say that it's a COVID-19 issue, which I don't think we are. And like you said, I know it's an issue across the world. But again, you got to do your part in order to say, this is an issue.
Yeah, there's protocols that are set. The parent liaison has to go through them. There's meetings that's supposed to be held between guidance counselor, parent liaison to get the parent in. I mean, you come in and you have to sit down with the parent. If you can get them there and say, what's going on? How can we help you? I know I was a part of a meeting one time and the kid didn't have an alarm. The kid was having to wake up herself for whatever reason, but we went and got the kid an alarm and he started getting there on time.
So that's what I'm saying. What role would the truancy officer serve outside of what each individual school has been doing in regards to attendance?
The extra layer they would have is they would actually be going to the home when those kids wasn't there and going to find the kids.
And then like, what would be the step after that? Like say you made, 10 contacts with one home. What's going to be the progression in tracking?
We follow the protocol and make sure those meetings, and then it would go to Ms. Ball, who has started truancy court here. We could go through that with Ms. Ball. And I do believe you had met with somebody last year that said, if we have our ducks in a row, we have all our documentation, we could take it a step forward. And I don't want to say that the courts quit working with us, because I can tell you Judge Blue was fabulous with working with us.
No, I know he was fabulous, but based off the article, there was some holes. And that's what I'm saying. Based off the article that was in the newspaper, there was some holes in regards to accountability and requirements being met. So I'm just saying, before we go out and hire two truancy officers, what have we done to fix what was causing some concern?
And are we suspending license, those over 16 and over? Are we making sure that they lose their license if they're not?
I don't want to get too much hung up on attendance, because there will be time that they can
I know.
talk about that. But any questions related to any of the four big buckets before we move on?
Yes, I have a question in regards to the money. You put on here like basically a summary as to what has, they have stated this money is for. But is there somewhere like on DOE website where you can go back and actually read more regarding each one of these different pots of money?
Yes, on the FLPOE website,
Mhm.
you look at the first column, the first pull down, it's coronavirus, and all of those are there. I also have to praise Mr. Plow back in the corner.
Mhm.
On our district website, each one of these grants that have been written and approved, you can pull up the whole document, you can read through line, budget line to see what we said we were going to spend them on.
Uh-huh.
So everything down to the first blue line is what's been written and approved,
Right.
and over the course of this year, so.
Okay, and with this funding, how much of this funding was available to support salaries? Salaries, yeah. None of it was able to support
Here's a
salaries.
very interesting,
It was to mitigate, like, if salary was lost.
Mhm.
That was what the grant, like ESSER.
Okay.
Vote could have been, like, if you had teachers you couldn't pay for because you had fewer students, you could come in and mitigate somebody's salary loss.
Mhm.
But I think ESSER 3, which is ARC, is the one that you're now hearing about. We've got to do stakeholder consultation, we've got to go through all of this process. That's where I think the salary bit's going to come into play.
what's very interesting is the $1,000 bonus that are going to principals and teachers is coming out of the governor's pot two,
Right, Krista.
CRISA, which the federal government has warned the state of Florida that he is not allowed to do that.
Mhm.
Now, he's going to do it anyway. I don't think they'll ever come back and tell the teachers they got to pay that money back. But we have been told we cannot spend that as how the governor is necessarily spending that at this time. Now, it could change.
So is the governor like designating a certain amount to each county and saying this is what that money is for?
Nope, all we're doing, he's got a pot of money that's up there. We send the addresses, names to Tallahassee. They will be sending the checks out. Yes, they're able to keep a portion of the funds that flow
Wait a minute,
down.
wait a minute. So we just sending our staff information to Tallahassee and then they sending the money directly to the
Teachers will
individuals?
receive a check in the mail.
Okay, so that liability won't be on the district. Okay. And so if the liability won't be on the districts, the liability won't be on the individuals that receive it, will it?
They may go back to them individually, but they can't come through the district because the money didn't come through the district.
I don't think that would ever happen. I really don't. The government.
Well, if they warning them not to do it,
You couldn't hear me?
if they're warning him not to do it, that's not gonna come back on that individual.
Money's not gonna flow through the district.
It's so,
I understand that, but it's coming because of their position. So that's what I'm saying. Is there gonna be a way to make sure that the governor and the state would be liable for that versus the individual?
That question's way above
Okay.
our head and pay grade
Okay.
here.
Okay.
All I know is that we're sending addresses and they're getting a check.
But I'm
they
saying,
deserve.
have they been warned that or no one has said anything about that?
I don't think so.
do they,
I mean, I didn't even know that was going on, so.
I would
that
encourage
was
them in
news
the
to me.
paperwork that they receive with that check, that they look at the deadline that may be on there for any kind of repercussion of what might happen with that money?
Now, that's why we'll have to negotiate. We may not can negotiate per se necessarily raises or anything, but there may be ways to negotiate extra hours or things like that that will fall under the guideline. So that way we're able to help staff and teachers out. Like I say, there's a lot of still, I said earlier, there's still a lot of back and forth, a lot of controversy on some things. But that's what we're told to do, and that's what we're going with for right now.
But that's not ESSER money we're talking about,
The $1,000 that the teachers are receiving.
right?
Yes.
And the principals.
Chris said that
Krista,
the state, the governor can pull out whatever percentage it is, they get a certain percentage, they get to pull out and they can spend it how they
But it's
see.
not in this.
No, it's not out of this.
That's what I was wanting.
did you say there's a deadline for that now to have that submitted?
Yes, there was a quick turnaround and I'd have to Ashley, but she may already send ours off.
Also, we still have a remaining $29,000+ of private school money. When will we disperse that to them?
That's on them.
Dispersed, we're waiting on them to submit their needs.
We're just waiting on their list for what?
We purchase, they don't purchase, they submit the needs, we submit the purchases and do the purchasing.
So we don't actually give them the cash. They just to ask us to spend it for them on what they need. Okay. And we're waiting on their list for that. All right.
So our other funding that we receive outside of CARES, have we been spending the CARES money first and then that money second? And like, how have we been making sure that we're still meeting the deadlines on spending that money?
So Ms. Hathcock is the guru of that, of making sure if there's a deadline, she's very smart in her budget. So if there's if we've got, just say $60,000 the title money that needs to be spent, she spends that first because we don't want to lose it. And then she'll go pull from ESSER. So she's done a great job with that. I know Ashley and them, y'all came to me a couple of times and said, with summer school, we've got this money we got to lose. We're going to lose it. So let's use that first and then we can dip into the others.
We're gonna have to submit a waiver to roll forward more than 15% of some of our title grants. And you and I have had a conversation about that. Title I and Title IV are the two that I can think of that have rolling funds. Title II, Title V, and Title IX, we've done a great job spending. So we will apply for a waiver because when you have this many millions come in,
Mm-hmm.
it's pretty hard to spend it all.
Right.
I keep saying that the ESSER boats are loaded.
Right.
So we're trying to spend it, but we will apply for a waiver.
Mhm.
We can do that every 3 years. It's nothing out of the ordinary.
Right.
We haven't applied for a waiver in years because we spend our money.
Okay, shift gears.
Ready?
And Dr.
Thank
Logan,
you
it's
so
been a long
much.
way. I'm sorry. I can't figure out unless it's got
Thank you,
little
Mr.
arrow
Harvey.
down the corner, you gotta go touch it. I don't know. On this corner over here. Well, triangle, you can't. Yeah, touch that. It won't work. No, the curtain actually waves and glitters, and it's so cool. I know this, it's fancy. We can't make it wait, so you missed the show.
Okay, so we'll move into the next section of this, just to present about the data, where we are, some things for next year. I'll just give a brief overview, and then we'll let the principals come up here that I know can't wait to get up here and then go over this information. So just welcome. We really talked about this year as, we've talked in the board meetings about a heart, and within that heart, some puzzle pieces, and we'll talk more about that in just in a minute. But everybody has to fit in that heart for us to be successful and for us to move forward. So we're also going to ask the community tomorrow night, where do they fit in? Where do parents fit in? Where do our students? Where does our staff? Where does everybody fit in to make sure that this works? So Ms. Hathcock got me lots of puzzle pieces.
All colors.
So this is just a picture of our heart. We'll go into it a little bit more that heart that looks like it's pretty simple. There was a lot of work, a lot of changes that went into that, a lot of opinions that went into that. So we appreciate all the hard work that everybody put in to help us with that this year. This is pulled right out of our people. This is the suggestion plan, also strategic plan. The biggest thing is we're going to build the data of relationships built between people in the United Nations. And we're going to have to do a lot with building relationships with our community, with our parents, stakeholders, staff, everyone this year, because it's going to be a tough year. The COVID slide has hit us hard looking at our data, whether it's COVID, attendance, whatever it is. We've got some work to do. I will say the good thing is our staff, if you think where we were, 4 or 5 years ago, we were in an okay place. We were a good district, but the staff and the principals took us to a great place. And it's hard staying on top. So COVID slide, whatever it is, we have slid back. We're going to take it head on, and between hard work of them, and we know that our staff can rise to the occasion, we will get back where we need to be. Y'all asked about some vision and goals at one of the meetings. So we have these cards that were handed out to you that we'll be passing out around town. Some of this is out of a strategic plan. Some of this is where we are now. Some things that we felt we needed to look at as we move forward. One of the guiding principles is the Taylor County School District aims to lead with ambition, foster positive attitudes, obtain optimal attendance, and provide rigorous academics in order to improve student achievement. So the leadership team and everybody came up with attendance, achievement, ambition, and attitude as some words that we're going to focus on this year. Sorry, not attitude. I'm losing my mind. It's, help me, Miss Sharon, or she went. Aptitude. Get it right in just a minute. So that was something we're going to focus on. But one of the guiding principles are ensure that all students from preschool to adult participate in various learning experiences and enable them to develop and demonstrate 21st century skills while exploring career paths that respond to industry needs and personal aspirations. So we took these goals as a whole, and then we asked the schools to go back and break them down to fit the needs of their school. We also want to create a positive, safe, solution-oriented environment that promotes student social, emotional, and academic success, encourage mutually supportive, active partnerships between our schools, families, and all stakeholders to maximize student potential and contribute to the continued improvement of this district. We also want to ensure that all students are educated in a safe learning environment that support greater opportunities for student-teacher interaction, school connectedness, and social well-being of each student. The last one is ensure that resources are managed efficiently and effectively to achieve the district's goals. You can see that the heart we've also got on there, and I'll talk a little bit more about the heart in just a second. I just read those to you. I hope this plays. I just happened upon this the other night. I guess it was somebody wanted me to find this because it just kind of like fell in my lap. I said, oh my gosh, this lines up perfect with us. I hope it's going to play. Oh, Sharon. You assured me it was going to play. Ron.
She said she didn't know if it would play because that first slide didn't have the waves.
What happens when you move a PowerPoint from one computer to another, the page over with?
or fat or thin, ugly or handsome, like your father. You can be black or yellow or white, it doesn't matter. What does matter is the size of your heart and the strength of your character.
So I thought that was going to be really strong for us as we move forward this year. Should I get back? I've talked about the heart before. I know we've talked about this. Ms. Donnell's talked about that. Is talked about love. And I really believe that this world, if we had more love, there'd be a lot less violence. We'd get along so much easier. So we talked about this year is that we're going to not only have to love each other, but we're going to have to love our parents, our staff, our students. We've got to spread a lot of love this year. And we tried to break it up, each department inside this big heart, because it's going to take us all working together. Some of the stuff that's happened in the past needs to stop. We're a team. We're not here to run each other down. We're not here to point fingers at each other, because I'm pointing my finger at you. There's 3 pointing back at me. We're on one team, and that's to give our kids the best education possible. Also, attendance, we're going to be strict. We're going to make sure kids come to school this year. We're going to hold people accountable. We've got to step on some toes and step up and make sure our kids are getting what they need. I've told principals, and I've said it in here, if a staff member or teacher is not getting it done, it may be time for them to go. We're tired of mediocre. If you want to be mediocre, go teach in another district. If you want to be great, stay here, because we're putting great people in places to be successful. And that's what we want. If you don't believe this district can be great, yeah, we got a teacher shortage, but I'd rather my kid be 28th student in a class with a great teacher than be the 16th student in a class with a mediocre teacher. And that becomes supporting each other. Our staff supporting our administrators. It's easy to point fingers. It's real easy. Sometimes I wish we could swap places with people and let them make decisions, because I guarantee you within 3 or 4 days, people would be questioning their decision. It happens. I give the example when I was principal, we had a cabinet come in and we hung it on the wall. Half the staff came in and said, "That's a beautiful cabinet. I love it. Thank you. It was great." The other half came in and said, "Why didn't you put it on the floor? That was the stupidest thing I've ever seen. You should have had it on the floor. People, whatever." So we're not always going to make everybody happy. A lot of times we have to make decisions that we may have information that they don't know. Sometimes in education, you have to make a decision that we don't even like making. Sometimes it's handed down from the state and we don't have a choice. But I do believe if we all believe each other and we love each other and we care about each other and we build strong relationships with each other, yeah, there's going to be bumps in the road. I think we all have families. We all fuss, we fight, but at the end of the day, we love each other. I know my boys can fuss and fight, but you let somebody pick on one of them and they're ready to fight to take up for them. And that's what we need to be as a staff. We've really challenged the schools. Try to build a family, try to build that type relationship. And you know what? Not everybody may fit that. Not everybody may need a seat. If you read the energy bus, it may not be for everybody. And that is okay. It may not, like I say, it may not be a fit, but we want people who are going to be great and not be mediocres. We're tired of that. And I firmly believe if kids come to school, they will learn. We have the staff in place that will teach, that will educate, that cares about kids, and that will make a very big difference in our community. I love this community. I really do. I love the people in this community. But we have a problem with working and the value of education in our community. And that's a community problem. I was going to figure it up, and one of y'all may help me, but a child from they're born to they're 18 only spends, was it like 8% of their time at school? It's a very, very low number. Only 8% of their time is spent at school. The rest of the time is spent home in the family. And that's where the difference really makes. Yes, we have our job to do with education, but it starts at home with the family as well. So that's just kind of what we're talking. We just got to all work together and love each other. And I'm going to I know y'all are tired of hearing me talk.
Danny, can you tell us how many teachers we're still short, or will each one of them maybe tell us?
I'm sure they'll fill you in when
Okay.
they. Got you, friend. All right, Kelly, you up?
Can you take here?
Thank you, you talking to the.
Sit next to my face. Okay, so we've had a lot of changes. There's a lot going on this year. So we've had a lot of planning as we've done that, master schedules and looking into what are we going to do to fix this? I know I don't get state scores, and I know everybody looks at the bigger schools to say, what are you going to do? But it starts with me. It starts with my schools. Sharon, Danny, they've been on me about kindergarten readiness, making sure. I mean, that starts at the preschool. We have 6 weeks to second grade, and it starts here. If I don't get them ready, I don't have them prepared. Courtney's scores aren't going to be what they need to be. So it starts at our school. We understand that. That's our big focus this year. This past year has been, and then going into this year, so that our teachers, our students, our parents, they understand it starts with us. You have to come to school. You have to be here. If you're not ready when you leave my building, it's going to be a problem for the rest of their school career. So in doing that, to really focus in and hone in on reading for this year, the entire building, the first 120 minutes of school will be focused on reading, which means there will be no wheel, there will be no recess, there will be no breakfast, there will be no nothing. Once school starts at 7:55 until 9:55, everybody will be in reading. If you're a wheel teacher, if you're a teacher aide, if you are a front office person, if any extra person on staff is in that building, not having a direct job that has to be done right then, they will be in a classroom providing intervention, providing enrichment, providing something to every student in our building, K2, for those first 120 minutes. Something we've been able to do because we've put the preschool inside of the primary school building is we've been able to build in MTSS supports for our VPK students. Because of those 7 classrooms being right there on that campus, we've been able to put those supports in place so that they are, when we do see them struggling or we do have them labeled development delayed, they have, right as of now, they have to take that label away at 6. So they lose services. So if we get that MTSS started as quickly as possible and those interventions in place, we hopefully to close that gap before they leave the building, before they have to be placed with an IEP or be identified with a ESE label. Curriculum support, we all got new curriculum this year, so we've been all in on curriculum, PD support for Wonders K2, but something the district has done a very good job on. Once again, they not only have repeatedly talked to me about kindergarten readiness, they've also made sure they've given me the support for kindergarten readiness. I come knocking and say, okay, you want me to, I need your help. So they've been able to provide preschool more additional support with the curriculum that we do have for creative curriculum. We've also bought more curriculum to go down to our 3-year-old classrooms. We sit just over 200 in the preschool program. And then we also have added a behavior support program for preschool, which is once you add behavior support, it helps your academic support in the preschool program. We are adding, we've always had AR, but we haven't had STAR. And this is something that we really want to focus on this year. We're going to use STAR for 1st grade and 2nd grade this year. It's progress monitoring for them, places on a level, using AR books to really push reading, really get them focused on it at a younger age. The elementary school does a fabulous job of using AR and STAR at their building. This is something that we're going to really put into place in 1st and 2nd grade for the entire year. Kindergarten will start in the 2nd semester. And then school-wide incentives for STAR and AR, pushing classrooms to compete in each other, grade levels to compete against each other, to really encourage reading at school, to really encourage the reading at home, to support all of those things in place that they need to have. Questions? Moving on. Questions at the end? Okay. Attendance. So attendance is a problem. Attendance is a really big problem. K2, preschoolers don't like to come to school. It's hard to get out of bed. We have dropped 1% from 1920 to 2021 in kindergarten.
2.5% in first grade, 2.5% in second grade, and 4.5% in preschool. So once again, it's really focusing on that, getting them there, getting them ready to go. Some things we've talked about doing is going back to doing the daily cot at school. The kids love that. I didn't realize, you get wrapped up in doing everything, so making sure everything gets done. And for them, my son reminded me, remember what we used to get that sticker? He's 12 now, going in the 7th grade. We used to get that sticker, that paw print, because we came to school. And so, those are little things you forget that's a lot to it. I mean, it's just a sticker. Biweekly perfect attendance awards. I'm really encouraging them to be there so that they get the reward. At this level, it is very difficult to blame the child for not coming to school. And I don't want to punish the child for not coming to school either, because it is not their fault. A lot of our children at this age do get themselves and their siblings up and get them on the bus by themselves. So, I don't want to give anybody a reason to not want to come because they get in trouble for not coming. But we do want to reward the parents and the students that do get up and come to school every morning. So some ideas we had is to have bi-weekly attendance awards, monthly perfect attendance celebrations, so that, if maybe you could do it for the 2 weeks, but you didn't make it for the month, but at least we're giving everybody the opportunity to earn it several times a year. Grade level competitions. The teachers actually brought this up to us prior to me. I think maybe Pam, Miss Lytle, they did the traveling trophies at the primary school. They really want to get that back. They're really competitive against each other. So we're going to put some kind of incentive back in place for grade levels to compete against each other. And then the schools have talked about district competitions between the schools. Which school has the best attendance for the month? To really push parents to get involved, students to get involved, to kind of give that little bit of competitive side to, we all came to school, I bet you can do it too. And then the best attendance award and best average attendance, monthly, and then they get to hold that title for the entire year. So there's where we're at. We got a lot of growing to do, but hopefully in these next 11 days, we'll get it done.
How many teachers are you short?
I'm not.
You're not, you're okay.
I am good.
Good.
What do you think is caused to go from 1% to 4.5%?
So kindergarten has dropped kindergarten has only dropped 1%. My kindergartners come to school.
Right, but you're
Preschool.
yeah.
What
do you think that problem?
Was
What
this
do you?
data based off COVID?
What do you?
This is from 1920 to 21 school year. So a lot of it's going to be COVID. To be honest, they just don't want to get up and bring them.
But they would bring them when they were babies, and a little smaller.
No, that was my preschool data. My kindergarten data is they've only dropped 1%.
Okay.
First and second grade at 2.5%. Preschool as a whole was at 4.5%.
And what age is that?
That's the 6 weeks to VPK.
Okay.
When y'all break the attendance data down, is there certain things you're looking at when you break the attendance data down?
No, I mean, I didn't this time, no. I mean, it just depends on what we're looking at, what we're doing. And I typically, breaking preschool attendance down, they have to be at school by 8:30.
No, I'm talking about preschool. I'm talking about K through second.
K through 2, when we break it down, I mean, typically, yes, when we break it down, we can break it down to, but this, I just grabbed.
Okay, so you didn't really.
No, I did not really break it down.
Okay. Now, you put on there what y'all are looking at doing to encourage attendance, but what are y'all, do you guys have anything in place as for those families or those students that are struggling with attendance? Is there anything you guys gonna try to do to like directly target that percent?
So the ones that want to come but struggle to get there, are the ones that just choose not to come?
Yeah, both of those, both of those.
So the ones that want to come and struggle to get there, like we do try to do our best with, transportation, getting bus routes changed, or getting them to the bus stop, or seeing if we need to provide some kind of way to help them get their alarm clocks and things like that. Now, the ones that just choose not to come, our parent liaison is put in place. There's a protocol. Teachers have certain things to do. Then the parent liaison gets it. Then she does certain things, and I get the email, and then I do certain things. Last year, Deputy Bell and I would go on home visits after school. When you show up with the principal and the police officer, it makes a difference. They start coming to school or they withdraw. So, they eventually come back, but so from what I've seen, they eventually come back, but kind of doing the same thing. We've got to do a better job at keeping up with the data.
Do y'all do attendance conferences?
Yes. It is, and I'm just going to be honest, it is the number of students that it is overwhelming sometimes. So it's a lot to keep up with. So we just have to get a better system in place.
So who does attendance at your school? Do you have an attendance person?
Well, my parent liaison, but I don't have, my parent liaison does, but I don't have.
So that's what I'm saying, like every morning, like say for instance, you said your school started at 7:55. So what time are you giving your teachers to put their attendance in?
They have until 8:05 to put
So they have until 8:05. And so once attendance goes in, like say for instance, if you have a sub, who's monitoring that sub took attendance?
My data entry person. She
Okay.
calls the classroom and says, I need your attendance. I need your attendance. Or she will
Okay.
go, if it's a sub, they bring it to the.
So are you doing weekly attendance alert?
Not now, no.
Have y'all considered doing that as a district? I know some districts do weekly attendance alert.
I do get calls.
I mean, they get an alert.
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like what I just asked you, like your teachers, they have to put attendance in by 8:05. So say for instance, like Johnny Ray, say Johnny Ray missed, for the first month of school, Johnny Ray missed, 15 out of 30 days. Is someone doing a weekly attendance monitoring that where at the end of the month or at the end of the week, you're sending out, like you're giving alerts, like say from 1 to being lowest to 3 to being highest. But weekly, you're sending out alerts, like notices, certified letters to homes saying that this child has missed so many days of school for the month of May.
So we don't do it weekly. We do it based on the number of their absences, based on where they're at in the 9 weeks or in the 90-day period or, but I do like a weekly attendance alert.
One thing that we have brought up as a district we would like to do, and we're gonna have to work with the teachers to make this happen, and they would be compensated for it, is possibly weekly phone calls with parents.
No, I ain't talking about no weekly phone calls because y'all don't have phone numbers all the time. I'm saying something, certified letters, like I know some districts, they still do that automated system where like at the end of the day, because, you know, I know I've heard some parents complain that if they child late, they still getting that notification. But I know some districts have went a step further. And like I say, they send out weekly alerts. And like say, for instance, if you're chronic, you're getting a certified letter. But if you're borderline between 1 and 2, because 3 is chronic, but if you're borderline between 1 and 2, that means weekly, you have a designated attendance person that's printing those letters out and they're getting sent to the classroom. And then the teacher is having to make sure that if that child, say that child come to school that day or they don't, but you're giving it to that child to get home. Yeah, but that's what I'm saying, like a certified letter for those that are chronic, but for those that are borderline between 1 and 2, that's getting down to the teacher, and then the teacher is giving it to the child if the child is coming to school in time during that week. But that way, like I say, you can do it on a weekly basis. So like on a monthly basis, if that child has missed 15 out of 30 days of school, which I know that's not accurate because we don't go to school 30 days in a month, but there's so many days in a month. Say if that child has already missed half of that in that month, then your attendance person, which typically I know at one school would be like the dean, the social worker, and the parent liaison, is sitting down, meeting with that parent. You scheduled a conference with that parent, and you're saying, okay, you got chronic attendance. And then, like I say, once you've done that and it's still become an issue, then that's when truancy comes in. So that's what I'm saying. Have we as a district discussed something like that?
We have. I mean, everything's on the table, but we've got to negotiate some things, and hopefully within that time frame, yes, we would give whether it's teachers or staff time to do all of that you were talking about.
And the consistency between schools would be great because of the simple fact that that child moving from one school to the next will know what's expected. And when the rules change, it throws them, you know.
A district-wide plan. That one thing that bothers me in what you said was having the teachers call parents like once a week or something. Teachers, between dojo and absenteeism and having their own in-class absentee programs with the students and then asking them to take time to sit and call absent students' parents every week, I think is a lot on a teacher. That's just my opinion.
I agree. That's why we would have to compensate them.
Well,
things
you
like
have,
that.
how many secretaries you have at schools? Each school only got one secretary?
You gotta remember.
Y'all ain't got
too,
two
sometimes you
secretaries no
gotta
more?
think outside the box To get them some of the extras.
Wait a minute,
What
y'all
I'm
got more
wondering
than one
is-
people sitting in these offices.
I can't hear you.
I say you have more than one people sitting in your office.
They're not true secretaries.
What I'm wondering is the
So
in-class.
y'all got one secretary at the elementary school.
Miss Moses, Loretta Moses. She's the only one that gets paid.
So Tammy that sit up front, what?
She's an aide, a teacher's aide.
Okay, so that's what I'm saying. Like, say for instance, instead of this getting put on teachers, you have your attendance person that does attendance, but that person that sits up front could be working with your attendance person to print those letters out and get those letters out.
About 40 bus to phone calls a day for transportation changes, in addition to 40 calls for.
I ain't saying it gotta be Tammy. I'm just saying, I've seen it in a,
Liaison that does
right.
what we're
I'm just saying, I've seen in a school. I know it could happen. I've seen it in a school.
We have a parent liaison that does this already.
But I'm saying, are you doing it on a weekly basis?
No, it's based on.
It's based on when a kid gets to a certain number of absences, it starts. So
And then when they start receiving.
when they get to 5, then the teacher, when they get to 5, the teachers email parent liaison, hey, Johnny's at 5 absences. So a letter goes home to Johnny that's mailed.
Right.
And so then when they get to the next number, it's a little bit more severe, and the next, and so on.
I think y'all might need to look at another district that does it on a weekly basis and has it actually designated.
I feel it's given us a contact, I will reach out to somebody and see.
Mm-hmm. I could get you a contact. I'm speaking from experience, so.
Yeah, no, I'm.
I mean, I'm not suggesting this. I've had to do this. So that's what I'm saying. I know it could work. And I know we have staff. I mean, I hear a lot of times where people are just sitting in offices. You put them on the payroll to work as an aide, but they're just sitting in an office. So that's what I'm saying. While we have the additional funding, you can put these people into place where, I mean, you're trying to look at do something different.
Yeah, I think
So,
we're saying we don't know exactly what you're saying, so I will reach out to somebody and see how they're doing it, and research it. Be happy to.
Okay. Are we finished with the primary presentation? All right, let's move on to the elementary.
To the right. Okay, so our plan to improve reading, we are also looking at in our scheduling to do 90 to 120 minutes of uninterrupted ELA instruction. Ours is not particularly going to be at the beginning of the day, but during that time, it'll be uninterrupted when the teacher has them. We also, just like Ms. Brennan, we got the new ELA curriculum, Wonders. So there will be PD with that. And our goal as administrators, she and I have talked about, is just making sure and being a part of, along with our coaches, that the teachers are teaching it with fidelity. There are tons of amazing curriculums out there, but if the teachers aren't teaching it with fidelity, then, it's null and void. So we're all going to be working together to make sure that happens, because we put a lot of money into this. I was looking for Sharon, but she's gone. Curriculum, because we all believe that it'll be great for all of our students. So that's one thing that we do feel like that will help improve reading. We've always done parent-teacher conferences. We are going to encourage our teachers to meet with all of the parents within the first 2 weeks of school. So, and that's just to kind of give them a baseline data and go ahead and let them know certain skills in reading that they can be working on with them at home, and then also giving them some suggestions of how to do that. We just want to keep the parents and the families involved as much as possible, because like Dr. Glover said, we have them for a certain amount of time during the day, but at home, if we're all working together, we can help improve the students and their reading skills. We're also using AR, the accelerator reader. We've been doing it within the classroom and school-wide. We've done it for many years, rewards, and they also set goals within AR, and it's individualized. So, different kids are on different levels, but they're obtainable goals, and they can receive rewards as they meet those goals. Last year, I think was the first year we did it, maybe the year before, I'm not sure. The Sunshine State Readers is 15 books that are on the Sunshine State Reader list. Once they read a book, they take an AR test. They get like a dog tag and a lanyard that they can wear. It's announced during lunch. They get an award for that, and then we're going to do a big reward for the kids who read all 15 of them. And we had several of the kids do that this year. So, and that we're going to try to look at doing something pretty big for that. And all our teachers talked up, and with some of the CARES money this year, we believe we're going to be able to get classroom sets of these books, which we hadn't in the past because they are kind of expensive. So some of the teachers will be able to check them out, read it as a class, and that'll encourage them also the kids to read a novel, so their own novels. We have a very motivated teacher this year. He has helped us to start a new teacher mentor program within our school. He has not too long been a new teacher, and he sees the value of not just like district-wide, but within the school learning the ins and outs of being a teacher. So one of the things he's really going to work on with them is helping the teachers to learn the standards and how to teach them. He's going to do lots of different things with them, but he's kind of taken that on to start that program so that we can really help foster teaching these new teachers best practices, basically, and building and growing that family mentality that we have at our schools, just to help them be successful in their classrooms. We've seen that that's kind of lacking. Sometimes the new teachers get not left behind, but you don't know what they don't know. So he's going to meet with them and really help them grow as quickly as possible as new teachers. We do have several teachers that are not certified. They do have bachelor's degrees. So we really feel like this will help close the gap with them, just as,
Do y'all have like teacher
which will also
meetings?
help reading.
Y'all have like teacher meetings where you all get together and?
Faculty meetings and collaborative planning. And so that's another thing that we're doing that is not on here. And within our schedule, we're making it so that the teachers have collaborative planning. And statistics shows that really helps improve scores. If they can plan together and look at each standard and what lesson, best facilitates learning that standard, that's where we see the most growth. Okay, so just a little information. We got our third grade scores. So out of our third grade level 1 students, we just broke it down and kind of looked at the attendance. 25 of those 60 kids missed 10 or more days. And this is not including being out for COVID. 19 of those 25 missed 20 or more days. And these are kids that scored a level 1 on FSA this year. 8 of the 19 missed 30 or more days. And then 6 of the 8 missed 40 or more days. We cannot teach them if they're not there. And I don't want to beat a dead horse because I think Ms. Brandon did an excellent job of talking about it. But they have got to be in the seat. We have got some amazing teachers at our schools. Amazing. But if the kid is not there, we cannot teach them. So some incentives we're doing, because along with Ms. Brandon, we don't feel like we can punish the kids because they're little and they're not responsible for getting to school. So we want to really push incentives. We want them to be telling their parent, hurry up and get me to school. I don't want to miss being called at school, getting my sticker or whatever it is. We're also doing classroom rewards for weekly perfect attendance, school-wide monthly rewards, grade level celebrations, and then Ms. Brandon spoke about it, the district competition between schools about average attendance. Ms. Popple and I and our SRO did lots of home visits, and that's why when Dr. Glover talks about having a truancy officer, it's very hard for us to leave at 3:30 and be gone till 6 o'clock every day. And when you're doing that, you're only hitting 2 or 3 houses, because when you get there, you do want to talk to them. You want to, have conversations, try to understand what's going on. A lot of times, it's fixable, but it takes a lot of time. And so we do feel like a truancy officer can really help us with that and help build relationships with the parents, and help us hit more kids with home visits. And we enjoy doing it. We enjoy getting to see where the kids live and what's, what drives them or what don't drive them. So that's some of the things we're doing. And we hope that it makes a difference. Do you have any questions?
How many teachers are you short?
4.
4.
I have a question, and I heard Kelly talk about it and you, and I'm sure Jimmy will probably talk about it when he comes up. When you talk about classroom rewards for weekly perfect attendance, who pays for the classroom rewards?
If we do a fundraiser, if a teacher, a lot of it comes out of the teacher's pockets. I mean, it just does. A lot of them are more than happy to buy a soda or, stickers or candy or whatever. When we do fundraisers, if teachers, say, well, I need this time, we'll buy as much as we can for them.
I know that,
We do fundraisers to help offset the cost.
yeah, but the lion's share of it comes out of the teacher's pocket when we say that. The truth is. Yeah. Okay.
Could we not use some of this,
You cannot buy food or rewards for
With the
any of the
CARES?
CARES money.
We have
you probably can't buy it either with title money either.
Yes, and they
Yeah,
have, yes.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. When he was
This
talking
year,
about giving
not
for
with that.
supplies, extra supply money could be put aside for things like this.
And you probably can't buy that kind of stuff out of no title money either. I don't think you can, because I did a title program where they were strict about buying food. I think the idea the teacher, I commend that teacher for stepping up to the plate and wanting to be a mentor and get that mentor program going. I think that's a great idea, because I know a lot of teachers said that that's where they feel like they struggle. They like working in the classroom, but they feel like they struggle when knowing what they need to know. And hopefully, if he does this like a little pilot thing, maybe it's something that could help us when it comes to professional development overall as a district. I know we get professional dollars, but it seemed like if we can put that money towards mentoring and seeing what works when it comes to the recruiting, because it's not enough just to get someone in the classroom. Just putting somebody in the classroom, that's like putting a warm body in the classroom. It's like you're telling them, hey, sink or swim. And at the end of the day, that's a lot on a person when they have not really did the traditional teacher's route. So I do commend that teacher for doing that. And I think it's great how you broke down your data. That really helps, and it does show that you guys are looking at, like you say, if someone is missing, so many days of school. And I agree with you. And I'm not saying that, you need to pacify the situation. Quite honestly, for me, I think it's a great idea that you guys want to award the kids that do come to school and hope that encourage the other kid. But I think it has to be a family value. Like for me, I tend to not be time conscious, but my husband is time conscious. But both of my kids, they like to be on time to school. I like for them to be on time to school. But again, that's a family value. And my thing is you cannot teach them if they're not there. If a kid is rolling in at 9 or 10 o'clock, they've missed so much learning. So they have to be at school. But that's why I asked again, what are you doing to track it? Because again, if you don't do it, you know, like you say, if you're not consistent with it, people tend to slip through the hole. And even if you designate a person to that job, you still have people slipping through the hole. But if you do see someone that's consecutively, I know I've seen it firsthand, and I've helped assist someone in to being the one that print those letters out and making sure they're going home. Now, if the kid ain't coming to school, you're not going to be able to get them the letter. But then that becomes a chronic issue, and then you're able, as a district, to send a certified letter home. And then maybe, like you say, that's where that truancy officer comes in and say, okay, we've tracked you for at least 9 weeks, and out of 9 weeks, your child has missed 60 days of school. So like, hey, something gotta, you know, we can't teach them if they're not there. And then how do you expect this child to be able to be promoted or to even gain anything if they're at home more than they're at school? So I think that's a great idea what y'all have done with the way y'all broke the data down.
Thank you. One of the things I wanted to go back and mention, you made me think about it. I want to believe that all parents care about kids' education, and so we want to empower them as much as we can. So during the teacher-parent conference, we're going to have a conversation with our teachers before they do that, of letting, since ours is not at the beginning of the day, just telling the teachers, this is the time of the day that we're really focused on reading. You know, we see that we're struggling in that area, and let them know what time of the day that is, and ask them not to schedule doctor's appointments. Try not to schedule orthodontist appointments. You know, things that we know has to get done, but reading is the foundation of every.
And they can do that. They can do that if they know that that matters.
Knowledge is power,
Yeah,
and we
yeah.
want to give them as much knowledge so that we can all work together to improve their learning. The other thing you made me think of, with the new teacher, the mentor program, he came to us and he also said, you know, these are the things that I know I needed when I first started out. Is there any way we can make that happen? And so we had a little bit of funding. So we have them all a Rubbermaid container full of like pencil sharpeners and then like the teacher handbook, the student handbook, everything that they need to get started, because we saw that was a weakness for us in our school, that we were not giving them everything they needed. And I remember when I started teaching, if I hadn't had Susan Lindsay as my mentor at the high school, I probably would have, you know, went into some other profession. But she guided me, and she, you know, taught me all those little things I needed to know. So we know that that's super important, and we want to help foster that.
Courtney, with the teacher parent conferences, have you guys considered doing a 9-week conference, like every 9 weeks, sitting down with parents and?
They do. We were a little more lenient this past year, and some did it Zoom, and some did it, you know, different ways, some over the phone. We really want to try to get them the first 2 weeks, you know, with that initial data, what they're coming in with, and then after AP1, and then it depends on in the 9 weeks where it's at, but it may be, we may flow with the, you know, the diagnostic why can't I think of it? What's the name of the program? iReady, you know, as we do those tests and they see where they're at and that we know their deficiencies, so that the teachers can have those conversations with the parents, because there's skills that they can work on at home. You know, if your kid's struggling and you really want them to improve, we can give you the tools to help at home. We're really going to push 20 to 30 minutes of reading every night, even backing off some of the other homework so that is, you know, a possibility. So,
Okay. All right.
That's just a few of the things.
Yeah.
We're going to do our best.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We still got 5 more presentations. We still got 5 more, so we need to give everybody equal opportunity to share from their perspective, and so we need to move on. So, Steen Hatchie.
Yeah, I'm going to switch things up a little bit and go from the podium here, just reading it off of the printout. All right, so as we, thank you, sir.
Man of power there.
So as we look first at our plan to improve attendance, we like to try to quantify what we're trying to accomplish. There's a saying, things that get measured get done. So So if you can quantify it, if you can measure it, then you can keep track and see how you're doing and hold yourself accountable. So the target that I have here is actually a target that we came up with together, the primary school and the elementary school, at the leadership conference there at the beginning of June there in Panama City. We sat down, we talked about the importance of students being there 95% of the time. And so, 95% might seem like a high number, but over the course of a year, that's approximately 10 days. So if the students, they miss fewer than 10 days, that's where we want them to be at. And it's unfair to hold our students to a certain standard, but not to hold ourselves and our staff to that same standard. So our goal, as the elementary and primary schools, is for our students and staff to be there 95% of the time. And so I think it was like, we want at least 93% of them to be there 95% or more of the time. And so I think the critical thing that we have to do as we work towards that goal is we have to build support within our community. If we can have it as a community value, then that's going to translate into the kids, when they come to school. And it also has the additional benefit of building those relationships can help us create sponsorships for our classroom teachers. And so we're very fortunate in the small community that we're in, and working with our partners like Character Education Now, to where each teacher has a community sponsor that sponsors incentives for the students in the classrooms, as well as other incentives that we come up with as a school. So for example, as we look down the list here, we're going to have, and we have done this in the past, but we're going to continue to do so, daily school-wide drawing. So every kid that's there, their name is on equity sticks that I have there in my office. And so I'll draw a name out of the equity stick, and we'll announce it over the intercom that student has won for the day. Last year, we had a community partner that donated flavored drinks. And so they received a flavored drink at their lunchtime for that, or we'll do a candy bar or something along those lines. But we also had something that we call the perfect day drawing. So the perfect day is when every faculty and staff member is there and every student is there. If we ever hit those days, these perfect days, then we'll have a drawing to where the adult gets a $50 gift, and then the student gets a $25 gift if they're drawn that day. We only hit that, I think, once in the first semester and once in the second semester. So it's something we want to keep.
And that's donated by a local vendor?
I wish.
Oh,
it's donated by me.
It's donated by Jimmy Bray. A local,
working towards that.
A local principal.
Hint, hint.
And so the other thing we do, and I stole this from Lafayette, is we'll put the word attendance up in each classroom. And so we'll start with, when everybody is there in that classroom, you'll cover up the A. And so you move across until you get to the end of the E, which would be day number 10. So each day everybody's there, you advance towards the end of attendance. And so we do have a community sponsor for that does an ice cream party for the class each time they make it to that E in attendance there in that classroom. So in each of those classrooms there. Something that I've heard the other principals talk about that I like, and so, I took their idea from them, is things like monthly prize drawings for students with perfect attendance. So just keeping track of kids that are there the entire month, and then at the end of that month, I've already had conversations with Character Education, and they're going to sponsor the prize for the one who gets their name drawn for that. And then within the school, again, this is an idea that I stole, is I like the idea of having the school-wide competition within the different classrooms, to see which classroom has the best attendance for that month. And then something that's been talked about before is, I'm eager to participate in that traveling attendance trophy, or whatever we want to call it, the district competition between the schools to see which school has the highest percentage of students attending. And then something that's been talked about before is, we've shown a lot of the carrots, but we also need to talk directly to the ones that are chronically out. So I want to proactively, intervene through conversations with the parents. Something's been mentioned, is like the policies that we have in our district. Part of the things that's coming in and not knowing anything like I did is I had to try to find what the district policy was for attendance. And the district does have a policy. It's well-written. It has a flow chart that tells you what this happens, you do this happens, you do that. So we have the things in place. We just need to, make sure that we're using them and following through with them and taking the steps necessary to advance that towards the outcome of getting the students back in school. So any questions on the attendance piece?
Good idea.
What's the best reward? What's the best reward incentive?
We've used a lot of different things. And for the folks that were there when we did our end of year awards, they really like the V-Bucks. I talked about that one time. It's, how they get the virtual bucks to purchase things in their online worlds and all. So that motivates them.
Yeah.
Those V-Bucks. Yeah. All right. So then as we look at the plan to improve reading, so again, we have quantified it with a target of 75% learning gains in reading. And again, this is a shared goal that all of the primary and elementary schools have. It's something that we want in both reading and math, but since we're focused on reading is why I broke it down just into the reading. So our target is 75% learning gains in reading. And so the way that we're moving towards accomplishing that goal, so like as in our school, we're unique in the district in that we have pre-K up to fifth. So we're kind of like two schools in one in a way. So I tend to focus most of my attention on my 3rd to 5th grade group because that's where school grade is generated at. And that's where I have the most experiences with kids in that age group. And so I feel like our 3rd to 5th grade group is heading in the right direction. I think they're a really strong group. And I think, looking forward, I think we will continue to be that. But in my K to 2, I feel like we needed to change things around to move towards improvement. So we've restructured our K to 2 ELA team. We've went to where each teacher is self-contained now instead of having it departmentalized. And then I moved some of the teachers around to better position them, I think, to be successful and give our kids the best chance at success. So it has been mentioned before, we do have a new curriculum this year, the Wonders curriculum by McGraw-Hill. They started professional development on that at the end of this past year, and they'll continue that into pre-planning as we move into this year. Something else that we did working through Ms. Hathcock and our MTSS teacher is we also have an intervention system. I think the middle school is using this too, I think, but it's put out by HMH. It's called Read 180. It's something that you probably have heard of before in the System 44 reading interventions. And that's what we're going to focus on in 3rd through 5th grade. We're fortunate in our MTSS teacher has experience in, I think this is the 8th district that the teacher has been in. So she's saw a wide range of things and she's really got a lot of confidence in the System 44. So in our younger grades in K to 2, Heggerty Phonics is something we're going to be using this year. And at the end of last year, there's a group called Kindor, it's multi-sensory training, and they put out an application for folks to apply for a scholarship. And we were fortunate. I found out last week that we were given a scholarship. And so one of our lower grade teachers is going to be trained in that, and they'll come back and share it with the rest of our group in using, the hands-on sorts of things with our kids to help support reading instruction. Last year we had someone who came in. It was Marion McCrae, who would come in once a week, and she would work with our MTSS person. She was Lynn Cannon, who teaches MTSS. It was her first year on the job, and so I felt like that was something that could be of value to Lynn, and it went very well. So we're looking to continue that again. It's funded through our Turnaround School grant. And then also something I'm excited about is something that the district has done in adding a district MTSS coordinator, Melanie Morgan. And so she's already set up meetings with everybody. And so my meeting's on Wednesday. And then she's looking at coming in once a week and helping us track our MTSS progress and making sure that we get the resources we need to help those students that are struggling. Accelerated reader incentives. We've done accelerated reader. I probably haven't given it the attention that needs to be given. So that's why I wanted to make sure and include it on the list. We handle that each teacher sets their own goals for their students, and we reinforced it with something we call the goals party. So if they meet the goal in Accelerated Reader, then they get to attend the goals party. And then finally, I think a big part of our success at a school lately has been our collaboration with the Boys and Girls Club. And so I want to continue that. And I've talked to Gina Smith, the coordinator, today about the importance of us extending these reading opportunities into the after-school program. She's already working on lining up teachers and communicating with the child's teacher in our school and have that translate over into what they're doing and be specific about what they need in the Boys and Girls Club.
I like your techniques.
Thank you, sir.
Are you shorting teachers?
Well, that's good.
You know, it is huge though for Steinhatchee that after school, the Boys and Girls Club, I've been in there and I've been in there for their program, and kids do their homework there. I mean, they go in and their first hour is spent doing homework. And like you said, it's not just homework, it's a collaboration between the Boys and Girls Club and that student's teacher. And they actually take the time to say, how can we help Johnny, or what does little Johnny need? And I know Jimmy's one of the ones that goes out there and helps little Johnny. So it is something that, if we haven't thought about it in Perry, it's something that has really worked in Steinhatchee, is that collaboration, that hour of homework, and that letting them know what that individual child needs and looking at their needs and working together to get them where they need to be. It's been great.
The Boys and Girls Club here do that hour homework. They do that.
Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, I think we got middle school next.
So our plan for our reading is we're using a data-driven approach using iReady. We did go to, identifying the lowest performing students to provide differentiated, targeted support. We're going to probably, it's about 165 students. And what we've done is, since they have to be reading endorsed, we have 2 reading teachers that will teach 6 through 8 all day. So they will have 10 classes basically. Is that right? Yeah. So they'll have, and they'll only do triple I all day long. They'll serve 165 or so students. They're going to be using like 90 of those students will use the Reading 180 Systems 44 program. Not really familiar with that one though. And then the next group up will be about 75 students that they'll be using like vocabulary. It's the same, 2 different teachers though. They'll be using like vocabulary, reading passages, small group instruction, novel and study units. That'll be about 75 students for them. Our intensive reading teachers will be those 2 dedicated teachers for 6th, 7th, 8th grade. Said that. We also will have MTSS, a person this year that we have not had since I think I was years ago at the school. And they're going to help with the small group and the tier 3 individualized. And we're meeting with Melanie. I think Thursday is my day to meet with Melanie or my team. Curriculum development, as they've all said, we've got the new ELA best standards. We've adopted McGraw-Hill Study Sync. We also have the curriculum mapping. Some more of our teachers are meeting this, I think, Wednesday and Thursday to do the curriculum mapping for ELA. And then there's also PD for ELA, social studies, science teachers to promote or implement literacy. And I think we're doing it next Tuesday where the high school is doing it. FCRR, I think is what it's called for that. And then we also are bringing back AR. We didn't have AR this past year. We are bringing back the AR program back to our school because we've got to push some of that. Short and sweet. Questions? Okay, so attendance. Our attendance, obviously, everybody's is around 88% last year. So not the best, but I have done, and I did not do it this past year. It was crazy, but in the past, I always did conferences with parents. I was the one that did it at my school. Miss Clover would schedule, I'd pick a day and I'd say, just schedule me every 15 minutes, schedule parent conferences. And I would just all day long sit there and meet with parents every 15 minutes, the ones that come. Unfortunately, I may have out of 23 to 3 or 4 show up. So, and I would document it. We would send the letters home. I would try again in a few weeks to meet with them. So, anyways, to piggyback on them, if they're not there, we can't teach them. And then if they're not coming to meetings to even to see how I can help them or how we can help them, there's not much we can do there too. But, you know, just trying to get them in to meet with us and tell us. And some of the parents have had things that have happened and, you know, like, what can we do to help you to get them here too? And sometimes it was the kid. So I would talk with a kid or, you know, or helping the parent in some way. So I will be doing that again this year, or my AP will be doing that this year for me. So conference requests with the parents for non-attendance. The PBS team, we've, you know, tried to give incentives and rewards. You know, it may be, you know, every kid that on the certain days that was here for, you know, however long we decide, they'll get ice cream sandwiches. That was something cheap and easy to do. I can give 500 kids ice cream sandwiches for like $75. So we do little things like that. I've even had, my friend has one of those VW buses. I had her bring it up there one day and park it. We played the ice cream song, music song. So the kids would go out during their lunch with their little report card or attendance, whatever it was they did, you know, we gave them, and they would, you know, choose whatever kind of ice cream for them. So attendance incentives for, I think we took off the other, oh, there it is. Okay. We still working on the bi-weekly what rewards. You know, we can do the ice cream sandwiches, we can do popsicles because those things are so cheap to do and easy, and the kids want that. Hot chocolate, stuff like that. And we do that all throughout the year, usually once a month. We try to do those. Also faculty and staff incentives. Miss Pule at one time, and we're probably going to try to do that again, is if they were here for a certain amount of time, teachers, you know, would get lunch. My AP is, which is not here, had the idea of we would wash their car for them. You know, if me and him and hit the mouse in his pocket, I guess. If for the teacher, or, you know, a couple of teachers, obviously not washing everybody's car, but I would, you know, we'll go out there and do a few just to get them, you know, to come to school too, because sometimes we have teachers that miss also. And then of course we still have, like everybody, the district traveling trophy reward also. Any questions?
How do y'all monitor when the teachers don't show up?
We have signing, we sign in and
No, I'm saying, what does the district do with that?
we go against on their performance, on their evaluations.
Is there a way to give, and I'm just speaking out loud as far as ideas, is there a way to like give football tickets or to the family or different things like that for the family that their kid was perfect attendance,
Yeah.
you know, things?
We've done that before, given, do we do it for attendance or?
We've done it for attendance.
It's a
We've
great-
done it like if you came up for,
It was a great idea, Ms. Gray.
Yeah, that's right. It was like, huh? You're interrupting me. Come on. It's my turn.
Ms. Gray has experience about that.
Oh, but, and we did it for a parent conference night, right? Everybody that came got a football pass for a game or something like that. So those little
that's like
things.
giving
that-
away $5-6.
Yeah.
Because it adds up.
It would- Yeah. How many
It
teachers?
adds up, but some kids don't want anything. They enjoy coming to school.
That is true. And they want that ice cream sandwich. They love when we do,
Mhm.
and that's the cheapest stuff to do. And they love those little things. Middle school and high school is just a little bit, I mean, they don't care to get that little piece of paper. The parent wants the paper more than the kid does. Because I've got perfect attendance. They want something right here and now. So, 6 teachers and 2 aides.
That's what you need?
As of today.
So we
Need to get Danny to invest in just a regular ice cream truck so he could just make the rounds.
Well, I did do the ice cream truck one time and it was like $400 and some. I said, yeah. well,
Yeah, but if he owned it, you know,
That's true.
Yeah.
There you go.
what?
put a freezer in the back.
Okay, thank you, high school.
Woo. Thank you, Casey.
So, we always say that the high school is unavoidable. And, so we have all these beautiful plans, and we've also adopted new curriculum. Unfortunately, my 2 openings are both English and reading. So, which makes me cringe, but, when you have to do hard things, you just do hard things. And if right now where I'm at is if Dave takes a class and I take a class and we're unavailable for part of the day, that's what we're gonna have to do. Our learning losses are huge, partially self-imposed because when the kids went home, just like everybody else's kids, the difference with my kids is my kids went to work. And so not only did they not do school, they found out that they could make $8, $10, $12, $15 an hour, and that was way more attractive to them than school. And so I'm all over the place right now on that, but attendance wise, I'll flip back to this in a minute. We were at 88%, 88 for the whole school year overall. My seniors were the ones that were bringing us down to 88%. They were 85% and lower for the bulk of the school year. And so that for me, and Dr. Glover and I have talked about that some, so I'll flip over to attendance and then we'll come back to reading. That for me is a big issue. And I've talked with Dr. Glover about calling some local businesses because I've got kids who came to summer school, who missed some days of summer school, were able to get their credit, but what they came and told us repeatedly was, well, I worked my job last night at this place or that place in town until midnight. And then we closed at midnight and then I had to clean up until 2. And so I couldn't get here until 10 o'clock. Well, that's unacceptable for a lot of different reasons, and that was the conversation with the kid. But I get it, the kids are helping their parents with bills, and so ours kind of compounds and becomes this whole other big beast in the room. So that's one of my things is I'm gonna start reaching out to some local businesses and say, hey, I know we need people don't wanna go to work. We all have that problem, and I need your help because these kids deserve it.
When you say you're gonna reach out to the businesses, you're gonna reach out to like
The local management.
yeah, like I'm saying, top manager, not like no shift person. Okay.
This is probably last year's graduate. That's their shift. I mean, I'm not being.
No, it's true.
It
It's
could be.
true.
They're
Mm,
young kids
No.
too. I need the adults that are in
Mhm.
charge to hear that this is actually, as Harvey says it all the time, and I'm gonna quote him, it's a systemic issue, right?
No, it happens. My niece recently started working and she's working late. And I asked the same question to my sister. I was like, I thought they're not supposed to work after a certain time, but they are working.
They're
So,
not supposed to be on the roads after a certain time.
but they are doing it.
You had asked about pulling driver's licenses when they're chronically absent. The reality there is it's Taylor County. They drive without a license anyway. That doesn't matter. They just don't drive on campus. And I say that. I always joked about the fact that my kids would be the ones to get caught if we ever did that just on a whim. But that's true. They drive without a license. They park off campus because they know we're checking tags and people run their license and see if it's been suspended. So we're also going to do the biweekly attendance drawings for students and staff. We did Student of the Week last year. We're going to up the ante with that, Student and Staff of the Week. We're going to throw in attendance with that. So if you're not there, you can't be that Student or Staff of the Week. My goal is, with the staff, we were able to give them a little Johnson's gift certificate, do something like that for the kids too. It seems like nothing, but it's something. It's kind of like the pictures on Facebook. I don't want my picture on Facebook, but if you do, it's okay. We will do monthly attendance incentives for staff and students. One of the things that we've built into our master schedule is one day a month. We'll have one long lunch and we'll have that ice cream sandwich. We'll have a pizza party. So you're invited if you've been in attendance every day as a student. Staff, it'll be a good fellowship time for them because, my staff, most of mine are coaches. And so after school meetings and things like that, we don't get to fellowship. We had mandatory fun one day back in October. We painted pumpkins because everybody needed a stress release. And the game was you couldn't talk about school. And you lost a penny every time you talked about school. And if you lost so many pennies, you had to get up and sing. And it was all because nobody followed the rules, but it was good because also nobody talked about school. And so if we need to do that every month, just to worry about ourselves and the family, then that's what we're gonna do. And then we're gonna do the district competition between the teams also. So back to reading. And again, my 2 openings are in English. So my non-negotiables, I will have reading courses for my students in 11th and 12th grade that need scores. Has to happen. They're going to have scores for graduation moving forward. You know, that's not going away, I don't feel like, for next school year. And in fact, you know, that bar got raised because the concordance scores changed. And so that's a non-negotiable. We do plan to have reading classes for our 10th grade students because that's the one that they need to pass. And so hopefully we'll get them one time and they won't have to do it as a retake. If I find another person or two, we do have planned, we also purchased Read 180. And so we're going to do small group reading classes for 9th and 10th grade students to really focus in on those skills, try to bring up the level 1s. For me, it's also a very good way for us to track our MTSS data because I still have kids who may have slipped through the cracks and we identified as having a learning disability. And so that was the draw for using that program. And then again, like Casey said, we're doing the content reading, area reading strategies in all of our core classes. So in the event that I can't have a small group, we're all talking the same language. Because if we're not all talking the same language and it starts at 6th grade and it carries through to us, and all of the teachers will be saying the same thing. And we're not calling it something different at her school versus my school. I think that's all I have. Questions?
How many teachers you need?
2.
2 English teachers.
Just 2?
Just 2. We hired a Spanish teacher.
Yay.
Yeah.
So the last meeting, we were at 15 and now we're down to 12. Is that what I'm adding up about that?
We should all knock on wood as we say numbers out loud. Because
Could change tomorrow.
just a few minutes and, you know, I mean, it just.
But you are able, I think we talked about, you are able to cover it if we had to.
I have developed a crazy plan. The only thing that will not get covered are those small group, 9th and 10th grade courses. And that may be something, you know, we kicked around for 9th grade anyway. If you are a struggling 9th grader when you get to me, and 9th graders, if anybody here has ever become a 9th grade student, Miss Blue is smiling and she'll amen from the back row over there. They are different little animals. They're like 6th graders at the middle school. They're like 3rd graders at the elementary school. They are so immature and they don't get it. So we had already kind of kicked around giving them a break from reading because if you're struggling when you get there and you don't quite get it until January or February, you're just going to fail one more class. So it may be, you know, that we start pulling those kids in January or February from PE or from wherever to give them that extra support. That's one of, again, our top crazy plans. A lot lately, it seems. But my goal this year, because I do, you know, Dr. Glover and I have talked about.
Do we have some type of plan in place where if they have not met that ELA requirement where they can't take a certain number of electives, where they have to take reading?
Well, reading counts as one of their electives, but it gets into what they still have to have as far as graduation goes.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
You know, they haven't had an art, I can't waive that art credit.
Right, I know that, but I'm saying for the ones that like to load up on the PEs. Okay.
I want to play on the offensive side of the ball for a minute or two this year. That's my goal. I feel like we have all been certainly all been on the defensive this past school year, but, my roller coaster's been a little bit different than some. And so my goal is to play on the offensive side of the ball and actually get to score points instead of, keeping everybody else from scoring on me. So that's our goal, and we are gonna worry about taking care of the family, the teachers and the staff. We've all got to take care of each other, because if we don't take care of the small things, then we can't take care of the big stuff.
What plan do you have in place for the test students that are returning back to you?
They are going to be, it depends, and it's all gonna be on a case-by-case basis. Some of the kids have indicated that they do not want to leave their teacher, and they will not see another teacher again, they only want to have Miss Collins. And so that's who they are most comfortable with. Most of their day is gonna be with Miss Collins. If they have an EOC course, because those count 30% of their final grade, so they have US history or geometry or biology or any of that, they've gotta go get.
What you mean they don't want to leave another teacher?
They love Miss Collins. She is their person. She has been advocating for them. She's come back with them. So she came back
Right,
with
but
them.
can she provide all that they need?
She can provide most of it. She can provide most of it. But the big things, the EOC courses, they're gonna have to go get that face-to-face instruction.
Right.
They probably would agree, that's where they were lacking. And math, I don't have a math slide, but I told Dr. Glover when we first started talking about this, that math is one of those things. I was a math teacher for a long, long time, and that's what keeps me up at night is our math scores 2 years ago were really, really bad. And I don't think we've done enough to make them much better. But she can provide the basic instruction, but when they need math, they need to go see a math teacher. When they need biology instruction, because that's a hard EOC, and that counts on our school grade. Those kids that weren't getting any instruction, their proficiency counts on the high school. So I just strongly felt like we were doing them a disservice if we don't bring them back and give them what Coach Harvey has been asking for all this time. So,
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
You'll look forward to them.
All right, I just want to say first, it's just an honor to do this year. Mr. Glover, Dr. Glover asked me to come on board with the accelerated school to try to bring it up into shape. It's not my first rodeo doing this, but as you know, my job now is to try to get these kids up to par. And let you know straight up front, we have two teacher slots. One we have to fill. As you know, Ms. Collins went to the high school. We're going to fill that probably before school starts. And of course, we have two teachers aide, one's instructional assistant, or what you call your behavior specialist. And of course, those folks that I work with, a very small group. Relationship it means a lot to us. Our small little group, we know the kids, and we know the staff. So I communicate with them on a daily basis. So that means we don't have that many faculty meetings. So we see each other at the end of the day and we discuss. But let's talk about reading. Reading is essential, it's fundamental to everything. I'm an athlete, and also Mr. Glover too, he was playing. And you know that reading is the key to everything that you do in school. That includes math, science, reading. You got to read. So this is the game plan. We're going to try to implement about 30 to 45 minutes each day to all of the students at TAS. That's 6th through 8th grade. And we're going to be targeting our tier 2, tier 3 kids, one-on-one sessions, and also small group be pulled out by the teacher. And we are using Apex as our curriculum platform. And that means that the students will be in each lab. Lab will be 3 labs, 6th grade lab, 7th grade lab, 8th grade lab. The teacher will be doing their pullouts along with the teacher's aide. Will also facilitate those labs, making sure that the kid stays on task. And of course, I'm not going to insult your intelligence about what we're going to try to do in those small group instructions in the one-on-one session for the tier 3 folks. All right, so I came with an idea, I stole it, best practices, you gotta use it. I'm gonna use a vocabulary journal. That means for all 6th, 7th graders, they're gonna be having a journal. If they come up with a word they don't know, they read a book, they're being assigned to a teacher, they write that word in there, and that's how you get to the rewards room. We'll talk about that later. And so they'll fill that journal up each week, and that will determine how many words. And then I'm gonna let the teacher decide that, so they can have and try and implement these vocabulary journals. That's all classes. And of course, we're gonna utilize iReady and iReady data. And what we're gonna try to do is look at the baseline, I think you want, and then associate where, if what we're doing is working. Hopefully, as you know, the students that we have are at risk. And what does at risk mean? They will drop out, possibly. We're gonna try to keep them. As you know, we got a group of students who probably be 15 years old and still in the 8th grade. Some are in our what you call step-up program, some are in Excel. Most of them are in Excel. That's why our name is called Excel School. And hopefully we can get those kids to move from our pathway back to the middle school. And hopefully we get the 8th graders, and then that's had to be a collaboration between myself, Mrs. Casey Roberts, and hopefully Mrs. McCoy, yes. Well, we'll discuss that later. So our emphasis is reading. Reading is very important, as you understand that when we was in school, y'all know how that is. Y'all remember to put on your thinking cap, and you were forced to read each and every day. So this is what's happening. Also in Apex, kids had to read anyway because they had to read the subject content when they're going through the lesson. So they're reading all the time, but you don't know if they're reading or not. Sometimes you have to put them to the test and read out loud to the teacher. Any questions about our reading program? All right, so let's talk about attendance. All right, so if you don't come to school, as y'all know, you can't learn. All right, so we're going to implement a daily attendance incentives for the students who started with tardiness. Now, I have a philosophy. If the kid ride the bus, he's on time. If he's riding with mom or daddy or driving themselves, they're going to be tardy. I don't think we're going to have that problem this year because most of them be riding the bus. However, we still need to reward them for being on the bus and getting out of the bed, on the bus. So the kids, each grade will accrue points weekly to attend their awards room. Their awards room was built and developed by Mrs. Hadcock, who's not here. We'll get the credit for that. Y'all to see it. Got games in there, everything. It's Cokes in the refrigerator. You're gonna get it going there. You make puzzles, make little robots. Only people can go in there. People who accrue all the points at the end of the week. Some get the information and say, man, you already saw what was in there. We don't let other folks know who don't get the points. That's what we're going to use. Now, so there's some things on this that's not on the slide I'm going to use that I'm going to glean from Glenn. Jimmy and some other folks, but I'm going to try these things out. All right, we're going to implement also incentives for on a bi-weekly basis, competition between the two classes, 6th grade, 7th grade, and 8th grade. We may come up with a monthly pizza party. I'm going to let the teachers decide because I want to have fidelity. They can come up with their idea of how we can get some competition between the grade levels. So, bullet number three is implement rewards for teachers and the students with 100% attendance rate. So we emphasize teachers need to be in school as well to teach the kids. As you know, there is during COVID, y'all understand what happened during COVID. I'm not sure y'all hadn't forgotten about it. So some of these kids are affected by their parents having COVID. And some people dying, so they can't come to school. So you can't just say, hey, you got to come to school. Don't you stay home because your moms, you spread the germs. However, for moving forward, we're going to be looking at teachers. We're going to reward them for coming to school as well and teaching the kids. Right. attendance certificate awarded, certificate from Subway, anybody donate the ticket, donate anything, they give us to, we're gonna encourage the teachers to use their leave money to give back to the kids. Hopefully they leave money. All right, implement award incentives for students with at least 95%. This is a district policy, 95% attendance rate is required each 9 weeks, and we're gonna come up with educational field trips. I remember Ms. Ruth Harvey designed this when we was at BBCT a long time ago. And we went to the Rotunda, and those kids loved going to TCC and everywhere she took them. Cause she was doing, she told me, she said she was doing God's work. And I let her do it. So when she wrote it, I signed it. And that encouraged kids to come to school and reward them for coming. And at the note down there, there's a target of kids who are not doing what they're supposed to do, come to school. And I say 85% daily, but it's gonna be higher than that too. But I'm aiming at those kids because those are the ones, when you start falling now, falling beyond 85%, then you start to lose them. Then you got to go to their house. And I heard Tracy Roberts say she went to people's houses, they got bullet holes in the wall. And I don't want that to happen. We need to encourage them with all the other things that we're doing, so they won't have to go to their house. But the major thing that's in here, the major thing that we're not looking at is the relationship. Teacher got to have a relationship with the kids. And what I'm trying to do is have a relationship with my staff so they can be able to implement what we're trying to do here. If they don't do these things, we'll lose the kids. So I'm just telling you now, Mr. Glover has already given us a speech about being on a team and also communicating. And let me say something about that. So yeah, and I think Mrs. Donnell asked about how we calling. At TAG, you have to call. And you call and you say, parent, are you there? Sometimes they're not there. Sometimes you can't reach them. Sometimes they leave the whole country. Got to send up signals. Yeah, they got the laptop with them over in Germany somewhere. But you still have to call. Now, that communication that we get back, the feedback we get, probably we don't get them, but at least we call. And we write down that we will call them. And then you say, make a note, they wasn't there, the phone off the hook, or they don't want to talk to us, but we still call. So any questions about anything I've just said or anything I didn't say?
How many teachers you said that you still needed?
I have one that I'll probably be filling soon.
So how many do you have?
Transferred over to high school.
How many teachers do you have?
I have two dropout prevention teachers and a half. If Mr. Lewis is coming back over, so. I have two teachers, 2.5 teachers, I'll say, 2 aides, 1 teacher assistant, so-called behavior specialist.
But you still need to fill one.
I need to fill that one.
Okay.
Your
But I think I'll
teachers,
probably fill that now. I'm just saying, I'm being fair.
do your teachers do instruction or they just, you said something about labs?
Yes, since we are using Apex as our platform, curriculum platform, I'm gonna have 3 labs, trying to divide up those grade levels, 6, 7, 8 grade, we have 3 labs. The 3 folks who are the 2 teachers aides and the behavior specialist will be facilitating those labs.
So you said that they do pull-outs though? So
Yeah,
they
teachers
work
do.
one-on-one with the kids when they're showing a particular need?
Right, the teachers will do their pull-outs, small group and one-on-one for tier 1, tier 2, tier 3, I'm sorry, tier 2 and tier 3. And I'm gonna when I get a chance to talk to them, how we're gonna organize it. This is in my brain. I just hadn't talked to them yet, especially the one I ain't hired. So hopefully they will get the concept so they can implement what we're trying to do here. But the major thing is, no matter what you work on this paper, it's the person who implemented these things. And I'm just saying now, the most greatest thing you can do is be a teacher, because you're molding minds and hearts. Because when that person becomes 40 years old, like you did, I see you doing great. So I'm just saying, even Dr. Glover. So reading is essential. So I'm just saying, it takes the person to do this, do these things, not, and then, and their education means a lot too, but at the same time, the experience that you bring to that kid gonna become a grown person one day. They're gonna see you on the street, on the mall, I guarantee you. They're gonna holler from the screen, from the rafters, calling your name. Because you helped them. Or they remember you saying something. So, any more questions?
I do, Coach Harvey.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you do AR points?
AR points, no, ma'am. We are trying, I'm gonna be talking with I talked to Miss Joyner before she retired about AR and bringing it to Taz. And she was implementing that at the end. I have to I'm gonna have to talk with our new reading coach. What's her name? Hartsfield. Yeah, I'll be talking to her about bringing that to our school. Like I said, there are other things that's not on here for our reading plan that I'm gonna be implementing, and that's one of them. I don't want to mention it because it's not in, it has not been implemented. So, but it's evolving as we speak.
How many students do you have?
I have a total projected at 40 students, 42 students projected. Sixth graders, 17 seventh graders, and 15 eighth graders.
There's something that was really neat that I saw one time, and that was a lunchtime reading program. And while the students were in the lunchroom having lunch, and it was a small lunch group like you have, but each student had the same book, and they played during lunchtime. They followed along with an audio version of that book. And then the whole group at the end took an AR test on that book. So, it helped keep them more focused at lunch because they seem to get really rowdy, too. And I know you know that.
We can use that. And I want you to remind me of that when we talk to Ms. Hartsfield.
But what you said about, having a heart for it is the most important thing. You're so right about that. And it's so inspirational to hear you say that for those students and the teachers.
It's different when you see a student who come to you and he's a worst student. You don't got all the words and then he changed. That's a miracle. You change.
It's true.
You may not reach all of them. If you reach one, then you did your job. So one thing I didn't mention is before Mrs. Pearson left here. I think she's still here, Mr. Glover? Thursday, okay. I asked her about Khan Academy. Y'all familiar with Khan Academy? Mm-hmm. I'm gonna try to introduce that to the teachers so the kids can use it as a tool for math per se. And that's something I haven't put on the screen either, but that's something we're gonna try to implement, try to keep kids in school.
Now that we're out of the disciplinary so as much as we used to be, what is an average time frame of a student with you? Like, if you had that.
Before they go back to their home school?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it depends, and we talked about it today, myself, Mrs. Robinson, and I. Their pathway back to them has three prong attack, meaning that they have to come to school at hopefully above 95%, no referrals, on minimum, let's say less than, I think it says in our matrix, not matrix, but I believe it said the matrix or the handbook states that they have to have a 2.5 grade point average. You're going to look at it from that standpoint. So we had high schools last year. That may need to be rewritten, I'm not sure. Then, of course, we use the number of referrals, level ones, no level twos referrals, then they can go back to their home school. And that we're going to have a conversation, a collaboration between myself and the middle school to decide who goes back. And I think Mrs. Roberts already did some implementation on those students, but we'll be having a meeting with those kids' parents when they come to us. Okay. So we'll get them to understand this is where you are, this is where you can be at the end of the school year or the end of the semester. So that's some of the things we have to juggle. Some of those students missed 2 cores, failed 2 cores or 1 core. And of course, their plan is to make sure that they get the 2 cores and we're gonna implement that they get what they need to graduate.
Coach Harvey, you had brought up about Khan Academy, but I think it's a good idea as far as implementation. I remember, I think it was back in, I don't know if it was 2018 or 2019. I know we went to one of the conferences down in Tampa, and it was Orange County who presented on how they implement the Khan Academy into the classes. So since, I mean, each school has talked about how they're designating a certain time of their day to reading, it seemed like that would be good if we could do that across the district. Well, across the district, each teacher implement a certain time that the kids spend on Khan Academy. And I know it's something you can do, I think, elementary up, because I know I've signed up for Khan Academy and I got both of my kids' accounts with Khan Academy. But it's another way. Yeah, it's free. You can go out there and sign up, and it's something like similar to our other platforms. The kids can not only work on it at school, but they can work on it at home. But it kind of like you could go in there and customize their strengths and their weaknesses, and you can go in there and they have like so many assignments they have to do, and then it gives them like a little 3 or 5 question quiz at the end. And if they master it, they can go to the next level. But if they don't, they have to go back and, it'll just give them some more information that they can work on with that particular, thing that they was working on. But I know Orange County said that that was something they implemented across their board, and mainly in their middle and high schools. And they're seeing a lot of increase with those kids that was in that bottom quartile.
So if there's a tool that out there, we're gonna use it. And I think Khan Academy is one, and that's why I want to be a part of the toolbox when the teacher comes back. And they can use it. Hopefully they'll get the training on it as well. So I'm supposed to be meeting with the MTSS district person on Friday. And also I'll be meeting with our reading coach as well.
I know that in the past you did this when it was at the Votech school, and I know you were great at it, and I appreciate all that you're doing now. I know back then you sent some students, we've had this conversation, to different places when it was necessary, and that's not always the case. Have you had that happen during your short term here?
Well, I think pre-COVID, it disrupted a lot of things. And then we came back, and of course, we were under COVID. And this is my first, I guess, full year. Because I went there, I think I introduced half a year that year there before COVID. This is the first full year I had with the students.
Okay.
So hopefully it will evolve. Hopefully it will. I already prayed about it. So it's going to be successful. The bottom line is that I got to get the people, the teachers hooked up. And as soon as they get involved and then you get those relationships going, that's what's going to be key.
Yeah.
Relationship with the parents and the students and the teachers have a great relationship. So that's what we're going to try to do.
Coach Harvey, with your kids that are over there, the ones that struggle with being on the platform that we have over there, the ones that struggle with doing Apex and they really need that one-on-one, I know you said you have, y'all do pullouts. But have you guys looked at doing something for those kids that specifically need instruction? Because I mean, just like all adults learn different, I know kids learn different. And I mean, I know you've had success over there with the program, because I know I was telling Bonnie this past graduation, it was a student that's son over there, and she graduated early because she went over there and she just knocked it out with getting what she needed with Apex. We sent her over there due to a behavior issue, but she graduated this year when this really should be her senior year, but she went ahead and graduated. But that just goes to show that she was probably a student that never should have been over there, but she didn't allow that to keep her from doing what she needed to do. She was able to go over there and still get on Apex and do what she needed to do. But again, I mean, we're seeing from the data with COVID that a lot of kids don't do well when it comes to learning in a computer, and they do need that instruction. So, I mean, I definitely feel like, TAS is a successful, way to reach those kids that need a different setting. But I still am concerned about those kids that just need that instruction versus being on a program and they're having to work on their own and just getting that small group time here and there.
Absolutely. Math is the biggest problem
Mm-hmm.
because you don't have per se a math person. So Mr. Ruben Lewis comes over, you know, he's a GED expert.
Right.
So in the afternoons, on Friday, Saturday. So he's the person that I put him in charge of all the math across the board. So he was successful. You have the one young lady that she's almost an expert. She's went from 6th grade to 8th grade math. So but there's some success stories.
Right.
And I'm just saying that we're just the infancy part of it. Hopefully we can go from that.
Okay.
Any questions?
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Just real. Just tell me what able to be here tonight, but I think everybody knows about, BBTC. She's got her own hard money and got a lot of money, so she's spending it wisely. And we always know she does a great job with that. We're gonna have this tomorrow night to do the same presentation for the community. But there's also a survey monkey there that Ms. Sharon wanted to make sure y'all that we're gonna share with parents so they can go on. And put that tomorrow night. So I just want to say thank you. You made it through. Y'all did a great job with your presentation. Appreciate all your hard work. Just remember, in 2018, our district made the most growth of any district in the state. And that's what we're going to look again for this year. Also, real quick, we're looking to join, to have a partnership, receive, I don't know if you call it grant money, but anyway, we're working with a community,
Seed money.
seed money. We're looking at starting a program. We would probably give them the semester to get their feet wet and actually start accepting students in January, but it'd be a program for like early childhood. So our students would be able to go to the primary school, elementary school. So they may be able to come out with their CDA. And we also talked about Parapro.
CDA, Parapro, and all the DCF requirements.
Yes, so they could
Come out of high school with a job.
being able to go work, and then they can work for us.
Is there an industry certification with that?
So they can come work
How
for
long?
us, go to work at the pre-K and get in I've got the name of the program,
Teach scholarship.
and they
do
could get their
bachelor's.
bachelor's paid for free. So
Which scholarship?
The Teach scholarship.
Teach scholarship. If they, at what grade do they start doing that, and how long does it take them to go through to get their industry certifications in high school?
I think they can take the test really at any time. Supposed to do 500, 300 or 500?
480.
Huh?
480.
480. So they're supposed to do 480 hours before they take the test.
How long does it take to do that?
Depends on if you put the time and effort. I think we talked about it. We can double block juniors this year, and they can do this year and next year and be finished. It would be ideally something, what we talked about, ideally something could start their freshman year through their senior year, 1 classes a year, because it's 4 classes. We've talked about, there's introductory courses for the middle school, kind of like they do ag, and it'd be an introductory to say, sure, an education course to say, is this something I would love to do? Is it something I wouldn't like to do? Because you don't want to get somebody in it and then them say, I don't want to do it. So it is 4 classes, it is 480 hours. But essentially our desire would be that they can come out at the end of their senior year and they can come straight over to me with a job, already have all the stuff they need to work for the district and go straight into an education program at St. Leo, North Florida, with that Teach scholarship, where it's 90% of their tuition is paid.
It's only for community college. It's not for 4-year.
St. Leo.
For them, so it would be their, they can go to St. Leo.
Oh, okay.
We're really excited to hopefully be able to get that rolling. This
It would
last
just-
thing before we.
It would just be for your school?
Yeah, no.
Well, it's an early childhood degree, so they have to work at my building to get that degree, but then your certification can be in, you can go certified. So your early childhood certification is pre-K.
They can work for Head Start.
So who,
Our Boys and Girls Club, really for the community.
As well.
so who's actually kind of, is that just a collaboration with, okay.
They
Is
have
that this-
a certain amount of
Right.
interning hours, so
Mhm.
they would do the school there.
Right.
And then come to me for the hours.
Good.
So
Is that the program you were saying that we have for the parapros that's interested in becoming certified teachers?
So we're not starting that until midway through this year. Would that allow students, juniors to step into that program and finish it by the time they graduate as a senior? Would they be able to get the 400 and?
I think the way Heather explained it to me, and when Jody and I, we all met and talked about it last week, that if they double block after the first semester, their second semester, their junior year, we can get them done that first group. Ideally, you don't want to do every group like that, but if you have people that are interested in one of them and then kind of want to effort, we can make it happen.
So they're gonna go
What does
to,
double block mean?
they're gonna go to Big Bend?
Or 2 classes.
Yeah, on
Two classes.
campus.
Okay.
They'll go to Heather campus? Oh, okay. Oh, it'll be on your campus? Okay, who's gonna be teaching it? Oh,
Then
okay.
there's the intern.
And then the hours will be done at Kelly's school
With the students.
with the students.
That's a good idea.
We reached out to ISER and they're aware of some money that is available for pros at our school and other schools to also start having their tuition paid for if they're going into education. So we are partnering with them to figure out how that works and what we can do to
That would
help
be
them
great.
also.
I think
That's good too.
I would,
To know they don't have to finish, so they can get the certification without finishing all 4 classes. The 4 classes are important, and I'm channeling Jody here, but it's the program completion, right? So you're a concentrator if you do 3, you're a program completer if you do all, and in this case, it's 4 that it takes. So if they double block this year as a junior, they'll finish one of the 4. If they have room in their schedule next year, there's no reason why they couldn't do the 3 classes and then do the time with at Kelly's school as well. So it's just gonna be on a case-by-case basis, that they don't have to have all 4 classes to get the industry cert or to get the things that they're gonna need. They just need the 480 hours and to pass all the tests.
how many college credits come with that industry cert?
We don't have anything articulated with anybody yet.
Okay.
That's the
There
next
is,
step
we
of
did
the-
speak with DOE last week when we met, and that is in work.
Okay. Because if we can get that to articulate to college credits, that could qualify them for the CAPE scholarship too, to go along with that, and that would help.
That would be articulation for next, for 22, 23.
Well, in our district, to be a lead teacher in a BPK classroom, you have to have your CD8 or an AA. You can't just be a parapro. So,
Right.
I mean, that kind of, and that's a 10-hour, 7.5-month position rather than a 7, 9.
We'll get, as we get closer, we'll get more.
Thank y'all so much for, and as we get closer, I just want to add something. I think that's wonderful, that really will help a lot, and that I love the idea of, knowing who our future teachers are and being able to work with them. And I would like to see a built-in incentive for them to get their bachelor's and come back to Taylor County and be a teacher, not just an incentive for them to get their bachelor's degree and teach, or to graduate with their child development, but actually an incentive built into there for them to come back and teach and be one of our teachers.
There is a 2-year contract in that lead scholarship, that they have to stay for 2 years.
Uh,
So
uh,
there is
here.
that.
Okay.
That's
You know,
good.
one
And I know
thing-
there's some other things we can do as well to help them. So, you know what, you already know that
I was just gonna say, as we close out, we talked about a lot of things tonight that we're asking the community, and it brings back the thought about in the springtime when we had the vape issue. And they said, you have a vape issue in your schools. Well, we're not selling vapes. The middle school and high school didn't have a vape stand set up where we were selling vapes. Those vapes were coming from home in different places. So, I know we talked about a lot of things tonight. We're going to work on those with the community, but we also have some students who are doing things right. We have some great parents, great staff. I was thinking earlier, if we could just move 20 kids per grade, that's it, 20 kids per grade, improve their reading score, improve their math score, and we'll never have to worry about our school grade. We'll have great schools for a long time. So it's just a little bit that we need to move. So I know we harp on a lot of to say challenges that we have moving forward, and they are challenges, but we are doing a lot of things right in this district. So I don't want everybody to get this negative opinion about the district right now. We have some work to do, and we're going to get there, but we're doing a lot of things in the right direction. So I appreciate, sorry, went a little long tonight. I know we'll be back tomorrow night, 5:30 for our budget meeting. We have the community event starting at 5. If you can make an appearance at the community event in the high school gym at 5, I'll be speaking for 5-10 minutes, and I'll be flying back over here, and we'll start our.
Driving, not flying, right?
Okay, all right, well, thank you again. It's been a lot of information and good information, so thank y'all for spending the time with us tonight. Do I have a motion and second that we adjourn?
Motion.
All right, who made that? Who died?
Give it to
Motion.
Deidre and I'll take the
Okay,
second.
Ms. Donnell made the motion to adjourn. Ms. Carlton seconds it. If you're in favor of that, say aye.
Aye.
Anybody opposed? So carried.
Are you running? I saw you.